Park Jin-young walks through his school hallway where every girl he sees has a literal rock for a head. He casually greets a classmate who looks like a walking boulder because this is his new everyday reality. Jin-young lives by an unwavering and unchanging belief that allows him to navigate the world without getting hurt. Most people would think he is crazy, but viewing girls as inanimate objects is his only way to survive. To understand his strange behavior, we have to look back at a childhood filled with constant heartbreak and trauma. Even as a young kid, he was rejected by every girl he liked, including one who told him exactly how much she hated him. The rejections never stopped, and they happened in the most humiliating ways possible throughout his early years. One girl at the playground even started crying hysterically just because he tried to confess his feelings to her. Our poor protagonist felt absolutely devastated by the constant social failure and spent his nights crying until his eyes were swollen shut. He desperately wanted to be loved, but it seemed like the entire universe was determined to keep him alone. He eventually became a total shut-in and spent his days huddled in a dark corner of his bedroom. Every single rejection felt like a physical blow to his heart, and he simply could not understand what was wrong with him. After sitting in the darkness for an eternity, something inside his mind finally snapped, and he developed a unique defense mechanism. He decided to abandon his old self to escape the pain of his past failures. He decided to change his entire perception of reality so that he would never have to feel the pain of a broken heart again. This young boy began a mental journey that would make him completely immune to any kind of female attention. He dedicated himself to meditation every single day and repeated a secret mantra until it became his absolute truth. He constantly tells himself that girls are just stones, as he focuses all his energy on erasing his worldly desires. By the time he reached his first year of middle school, his intense mental training finally altered his vision of the world. Now every girl walking through the hallways appears to him as a massive rock or an ancient fossil. Back in the present day, Jin-young is a high school student who is completely unfazed by the people around him. He hears someone calling out his name, but he does not even look interested because he refuses to get distracted. A girl with a literal stone face tries to act cute and bashful while she blushes and fidgets with her skirt. To anyone else, this would be a heart-fluttering moment, but to our boy, she is just another boring boulder. Jin-young gives her the most bored look in human history because he literally cannot see her beauty or her charm. He has trained himself so well that he is basically immune to any kind of female attention. He turns around and walks away without saying a single word, which leaves the poor stone-faced girl standing there in total shock. He has much better things to do with his time than talking to someone he perceives as a large rock. Our boy redirected all of that romantic energy into self-improvement and spent his free time lifting heavy weights at the gym. He believes that life is significantly better when you stop worrying about girls and focus on your own growth. Even when groups of girls wave at him and try to be friendly, he just gives them a casual glance before moving on. His stone vision acts like a superpower that keeps him from ever getting distracted by the females in his school. He walks through the crowded school hallway feeling like he is the only human being in a world made of heavy rocks. This worldview makes perfect sense to him, because stones are inanimate objects that can never reject his feelings. Suddenly, something catches his attention, and he senses a weird presence nearby that feels different from the usual atmosphere. He stops in his tracks and looks up while wondering if his mental shield is starting to weaken. An incredibly muscular man with a thick mustache appears in his imagination, looking like the absolute peak of masculinity. This guy represents the powerful and stoic energy that Jin-young is trying to maintain in his daily life. The muscular man gives him a look of pure approval, as if he is proud of Jin-young for staying true to his path. This inner voice of manliness is the only thing our protagonist listens to as he navigates through high school. Jin-young feels a bit confused by the sudden appearance of his imaginary muscle-bound mentor sitting on his shoulder. He tries to shake off the strange feeling so he can stay focused on his goal and not let anything distract him. He adjusts his glasses and prepares to leave the school grounds while feeling completely confident in his solitary lifestyle. He believes he has everything under control and that nothing can ever break through his mental defenses. As he walks outside, he notices someone in the distance and sees a phone lying abandoned on the cold ground. He decides to do the right thing and pick it up, but he does not realize that his world is about to be turned upside down. He catches a glimpse of something out of the corner of his eye, and his heart skips a beat for the first time in years. Something about this situation feels incredibly different, and all of his internal alarm bells start ringing at once. Our boy reaches down and picks up the lost phone while wondering how anyone could be clumsy enough to drop such an expensive device. He is still stuck in his own head, but the reality of the situation is about to hit him. He looks up to see who the phone belongs to and catches a glimpse of a pair of lips that definitely do not look like they are made of rock. His brain starts to short-circuit because his eyes are seeing something that his mental shield should have blocked. Standing right in front of him is a breathtakingly beautiful girl with long, flowing black hair and deep purple eyes. She is not a stone or a boulder, but a real living, breathing human girl who has shattered his worldview. Jin Yong is completely frozen in place as his mental shield shatters into a million tiny pieces right there on the sidewalk. He cannot believe what he is seeing because his trauma-induced defense mechanism has suddenly failed him. His pupils dilate and his eyes go wide behind his glasses as he stares at the girl in total disbelief. His brain is desperately trying to find a way to turn her into a rock, but his heart is screaming that she is a beautiful human. The girl looks back at him with confused and shy expression while wondering why this random student is staring so intensely. She feels a bit embarrassed by the gaze, but she remains standing there waiting for him to speak to her. Jin Yong is panicking internally because it has been so long since he actually saw the face of a real girl. He feels like he is drowning in her beauty, and he has no idea how to handle a situation involving a human female. He tries to look away, but his eyes are practically glued to her, because the contrast between her and the stone world is too much. This is a complete system failure for our boy, and he is currently struggling to process reality. The beautiful girl stares at him with a slightly worried expression while waiting for him to return her property. Jin Yong is completely mesmerized by her eyes, and finds himself unable to maintain his usual stone-cold composure. They stand there in a tense silence with the phone between them as the gap between their two worlds starts to close. Jin Yong is much taller than her, but he feels incredibly small compared to the intense aura she radiates. Our boy looks like his soul has left his body, and he stands there with his mouth hanging open in total shock. The stone-cold king of the high school has finally been defeated by a single look from a pretty girl. The girl stands there in total shock with her eyes wide open as she processes the boy's strange behavior. She has never met anyone who reacted to her presence with such a look of pure terror and disbelief. Jin Yong feels a wave of pure terror wash over him as he realizes he's standing face to face with a real human girl. He starts to panic and gestures for her to stay away, completely forgetting that he's still holding her phone in his hand. He keeps on walking without a single backward glance while she just stands there in total disbelief. How could someone just ignore her like that after such a strange encounter? He flees from the scene with serious purpose and starts speed, walking as fast as his legs can carry him. His heart is racing against his chest, and he feels like he is trying to escape from his own shadow. He is freaking out inside because he cannot believe he actually called a girl he just met pretty to her face. He thinks his social life is officially over before it even started. A massive apartment complex towers over the city as our boy heads home to hide from his massive embarrassment. The quiet afternoon air does nothing to calm his shattered nerves. This muscular guy with the mustache is Jason, and he looks like he is about to enjoy some major tea at our boy's expense. He has that classic smug look of a mentor who knows exactly what went wrong. Jin Yong is sitting on the floor looking like his entire world just ended, while Jason watches him with an amused expression. He wonders how a single girl could cause this much mental destruction. The embarrassment is hitting our boy in waves, and he looks like he wants to melt into the floorboards and never come out. He is sweating and staring at nothing while he relives the moment. Jason is probably the last person you want love advice from, but he is the only one available right now. He starts talking with a casual attitude that makes the situation feel even more ridiculous. Our protagonist looks like he is reliving the cringiest moment of his entire life in high definition. His glasses are sliding down his face, and he looks completely traumatized by his own words. He starts flashing back to a childhood memory where a young girl looked at him with pure disgust and called him total creep. That old trauma is resurfacing and making everything feel 10 times worse. His mind is a total mess of dark thoughts and scratchy regret right now as he struggles to process his failure. The mental weight is so heavy that he feels like he is drowning in a void. Even the tough guy Jason starts to look a little bit concerned about how hard our boy is taking this situation. He realized that Jin Yong might actually be broken beyond simple repair this time. Jin Yong is literally curled up in the fetal position because the psychic damage is just too much to handle. He is hiding his face in his knees while Jason stares at him with a mix of pity and annoyance. Jason suddenly throws a powerful punch into the air to try and snap him out of this pathetic trance. He wants him to focus on strength and action instead of crying about some girl he just met. Our boy is nursing a literal headache now and even has a cross bandage on his head from all the stress. He holds his temple and tries to focus on the advice he is being given. Jason sits him down and tells him he needs to toughen up if he ever wants to survive the harsh world of high school. He is laying down some hard truths that Jin Yong really needs to hear. You can see the gears turning in Jin Yong's head as he realizes he cannot stay a loser forever. He takes a deep breath and prepares himself to change his mindset for the better. After a long night of thinking, Jin Yong finally accepts that Jason was actually speaking the truth about his situation. He looks out at the massive apartment complex while preparing himself for the new challenge ahead. The sun shines brightly over the school building the next morning as a new day begins for our protagonist. Everything looks peaceful, but the tension is already building up in the air. She walks right up to him in the hallway looking incredibly gorgeous and asks if he remembers her from before. The whole atmosphere changes as she flashes a friendly smile that would make any other guy's heart melt. Jin Yong completely freezes up the moment he sees her because all his training and resolve just flew out the window. He looks like a deer in headlights as he realizes he is trapped in the hallway. In this moment of crisis, he internally screams for Jason to help him figure out what to do next. His panic is reaching a boiling point, and he feels like his brain is about to short-circuit. He remembers Jason's confident smirk and tries to channel that same energy to survive this awkward encounter. He knows he has to keep a straight face if he wants to maintain any shred of dignity. The pretty girl and her friend approach him, and they are clearly curious about who this mysterious and silent guy is. She tries to get a reaction out of him while her friend asks for his name. Our boy tries to maintain a stone-cold poker face, even though his heart is beating so loud he thinks they can hear it. He is desperately trying to remember the lessons Jason taught him last night. She starts laughing and chatting him up in front of everyone, but Jin Yong just stands there like a statue. He is so focused on staying calm that he looks almost intimidating to the people around them. Everything goes quiet as he stares through his glasses, trying to figure out what she is really planning. He is overthinking every single word she says and every little movement she makes. She starts posing all cute and charming with sparkles everywhere because she knows exactly how beautiful she is. It is a total charm offensive designed to break his resolve and finally get him to say something sweet. She laughs and calls him by a different name while asking why he is acting so strange all of a sudden. Our boy looks completely blank, like his soul has left his body, and he is just an empty shell. Instead of falling for her charms, our boy just turns around and bolts down the hallway at top speed. He leaves her standing there in total confusion as he disappears around the corner like a track star escaping a race. If Jason could see him right now, he would probably be facepalming so hard at this total and absolute retreat. Our boy still has a very long way to go before he can handle a conversation. Jin Yong is absolutely convinced that her laughter was just a way to make fun of him and mock his feelings. He clenches his fists and marches away with a look of pure determination on his face. He keeps his head down and focuses on moving forward because he refuses to let anyone play with his heart like that again. He is determined to stay strong and maintain his dignity no matter what happens next. Our girl is standing in the middle of the school hallway looking completely lost and heartbroken after everything that just went down. Her eyes are wide with shock, and she looks like she is on the verge of breaking down. The sky above is bright and clear, with fluffy white clouds drifting lazily across the blue expanse. But the mood on the ground is anything but peaceful for our main characters. Jin Young is walking through the school courtyard, and it is honestly kind of creepy how he sees everyone else. To him, all the other students are just featureless, blocky stone statues with weird faces staring at him. Just as he thinks he is about to make a clean break, our girl turns around with a bright and hopeful smile. She looks so genuinely happy to see him that you would think everything was totally fine between them now. But check this out. Our boy just marches right past her like she is invisible, leaving her standing there in total silence. He is moving with so much purpose that he does not even give her a second glance as he leaves. She starts to call out to him, but the words die in her throat as he continues to speed away. He is moving so fast he is practically a blur, completely ignoring her attempt to even acknowledge her presence in the hallway. Jin Young is actually covering his face as he walks, looking like he is having a full-blown internal crisis. He knows that if he looks back at her now, all his determination to stay strong will probably shatter into pieces. Our girl is left standing there with her hand half raised, looking absolutely baffled by the cold shoulder she just received. You can see the confusion and hurt washing over her face as she tries to figure out what happened. As the sun begins to set over the city, Jin Young takes a deep breath and tells himself that he at least managed to make it through the day safely. He is trying to stay positive, but the weight of the day is still pressing on him. He is walking home alone, admitting to himself that this whole game of dodging her is becoming beyond exhausting for his mental health. He gives himself a little bit of credit for doing a good job surviving the day. Seriously, our boy is stressed out to the max, his eyes darting around as he tries to navigate the neighborhood without any more surprises. He looks like he just wants to crawl into bed and forget that any of this ever happened. Suddenly, a familiar shadow falls over him, and the tension in the air spikes through the roof as he realizes he is not alone. The lighting shifts as the sun hits the top of someone's hair, creating a super dramatic moment right on the sidewalk. He looks up and there she is, looking like she is absolutely done playing games and is ready for some real answers. Her expression is intense and serious, and you can tell she is not going to let him just walk away this time around. Our boy literally jumps out of his skin, his hands flying up in the air as he lets out a muffled scream of terror. He was so caught up in his own thoughts that he completely failed to notice her waiting for him right there. Jin Young is panicking hard, wondering why on earth he keeps running into her no matter how hard he tries to avoid her. He realizes that until he can think of a solid plan, his only option is to keep running away as much as possible. His brain is basically short-circuiting as he stares at her through his thick glasses, trying to find a way out of this trap. He is sweating buckets and looking like he wants the ground to just open up and swallow him whole. The black-haired girl looks him dead in the eye and points a finger, demanding to know exactly why he has been acting so strange lately. She is tired of the mixed signals and wants him to finally be honest about what is going on in his head. Jin Young is trembling like a leaf, his whole body vibrating with nervous energy as he stands his ground. He looks like a deer in headlights, cornered and unable to find an escape route from her intense questioning. He is sweating even more now, his eyes wide with fear as he realizes that he is finally backed into a corner with nowhere left to run. This is the moment of truth that he has been trying to avoid all day long. The girl narrows her eyes and gets serious as she begins to explain the real motive behind her cold behavior earlier today. She is clearly struggling to open up, but she knows she has to set the record straight right now. We get another look at how Jin Young sees the world, where every other student looks like a gray stone statue while she stands out in perfect detail. It is a visual representation of how she is the only person who actually feels real and alive to him in this moment of total chaos. He finally snaps and blurts out the truth, telling her that all the other girls in the world look like cold stones to him except for her. It is a crazy confession to make, and the silence that follows is so thick you could practically cut it with a knife. She freezes in place, her eyes widening as the weight of his confession sinks in, and a soft blush begins to creep onto her cheeks. She looks like she is genuinely touched by what he said, even if it sounded a little bit insane. Jin Yong looks away immediately, his face turning a deep shade of red as he realizes he just admitted his weirdest secret out loud. He is biting his lip and looking like he is ready to pass out from the sheer embarrassment of it all. Even the imaginary friend Jason seems to be feeling the heat, appearing in a dramatic close-up with sweat beads on his forehead and his brow deeply furrowed. He has his eyes squeezed shut as if the awkward intensity of the situation is more than he can handle. She looks at him with this quiet and focused intensity, trying to figure out if he is actually being serious or if this is just another one of his weird defensive moves. The sunset behind her makes the whole scene look like something straight out of a romance movie. Our boy is at his absolute limit, shaking and sweating as he waits for her to either laugh at him or just walk away and never speak to him again. He is literally vibrating with anxiety as he waits for her final verdict. Just when the tension reaches its peak, the girl lets out a tiny smirk that completely catches our protagonist off guard. It is the kind of expression that signals she is actually having a lot of fun watching him struggle. She gives him this devastatingly cute smile that basically confirms he is in big trouble for the foreseeable future. She looks absolutely thrilled by his confession, and you can tell she is about to make his life a lot more interesting. She steps even closer into his personal space and asks him what his name is, taking complete control of the situation. Jin Yong can only stammer in response, his brain completely unable to function at this range. She reaches out and grabs him by the tie, pulling him down until they are standing chest to chest in the middle of the sidewalk. The lighting is perfect, creating a super intimate moment that has our boy completely paralyzed with fear and excitement. She leans in close and whispers right into his ear, making sure he understands that she was definitely flirting with him this whole time, and he was just too dense to see it. Her proximity is so intense that he looks like he is about to have a total heart failure right there on the street. Jin Yong is completely short-circuited, his eyes wide and vacant as he stares into space while she stays inches away from his face. His entire worldview is being shattered, and he has no idea how to handle this level of direct attention. We get a glimpse of his imaginary friend Jason, a cute little chibai character who was apparently the one who gave him all that terrible social advice. It turns out this whole treat everyone like a stone plan came from the mind of a kid sitting on his bedroom floor. The girl walks away into the distance while waving a final goodbye and reminding him to actually speak up next time they meet. Jin Yong realizes his ridiculous plan to treat every girl like a literal stone has officially ended in a total disaster. Our boy can feel his heart racing 1,000,000 miles per hour as he grips his shirt in a state of pure panic. The shock of the entire interaction has left him feeling more overwhelmed and confused than he has ever been in his entire life. Jin Yong stood there completely frozen while his face turned a bright shade of red. His heart was beating so loud he could probably hear it in his ears as he struggled to breathe. It was like his whole world just got flipped upside down in a single moment. He tried to compose himself, but the sweat on his brow and those wide eyes told a different story. Jin Yong imagines his entire life play out before his eyes, from the first proposal to raising a child and growing old together with the girl of his dreams. The massive muscle-bound mentor grabs the poor kid and forces him through a high-intensity workout session that leaves our hero completely exhausted. They take a breather on the floor to discuss their next move. Jin Yong looks completely lost and asks what they should even do at this point to fix his situation. The muscular mentor points a finger with absolute confidence. He tells Jin Yong that setting a real goal is a requirement if they want to make any real progress today. Our protagonist explains how he used to see everyone as nothing more than gray stones. He completely shut down his emotions to cope with the world around him and stay focused. Everything changed when a stunning girl appeared who did not look like a rock at all. This marks the moment where the side effects of his stone-cold strategy really start to backfire. The mentor does not hold back and calls Jin Yong a total loser for letting his guard down like that. Jin Yong thinks that comment is a bit much considering how hard he is trying. Our boy is terrified that if he keeps going down this path, the past will just repeat itself. But the muscular guy insists a secret way still exists to fix everything. With a look of pure determination, the mentor prepares to reveal his secret plan. He is about to drop some serious wisdom on how our boy should handle this girl at school. The scene moves to the school building where all the drama is about to go down. This location serves as the battlefield where the future of Jinyoung will finally be decided. Jinyoung is walking through the hallway with a face that looks like he is in physical pain. He is trying so hard to follow the plan, but the results are not looking good. The beautiful black-haired girl spots him and stops in her tracks. She looks confused and maybe a little bit worried about the strange and intense expression on his face. Her friend in the yellow hoodie is absolutely losing it with excitement. She thinks Jinyoung is staring at them with intense passion, but the black-haired girl remains very skeptical. It turns out the muscular mentor is now a tiny version of himself sitting right on the shoulder of Jinyoung. Our boy claims he just cannot see very well without his glasses. The tiny mentor tells him to cut the crap and do something about his terrifying expression. He is supposed to be desensitizing himself, not scaring every student away in the hallway. Jinyoung tries to force a friendly smile, but it comes out looking like a total nightmare. He looks more like a villain from a horror movie than a normal high school student. The girl is visibly sweating as she stares back at him in total shock. She has no idea how to react to the creepiest grin she has ever seen in her entire life. Her friend in the yellow hoodie is having the time of her life over the gossip, while Jinyoung tries to walk away before making things even more awkward. A strange shift happens, and the black-haired girl gets this look in her eyes. She is starting to find the bizarre behavior of Jinyoung more interesting than scary for some reason. Our boy is still standing there trembling while maintaining that insane smile. The tiny mentor looks on in disbelief, wondering if he has accidentally created a monster during this training session. Jinyoung finally turns away and tries to go back to his stone strategy. He realizes that if he keeps staring, people will get the completely wrong idea about his intentions. The girl watches him walk away with a deep blush spreading across her face. She is clearly affected by their interaction, even if the whole thing was incredibly weird and awkward. Her friend in the yellow hoodie starts teasing her immediately. She wants all the details on why the quiet guy with glasses was giving her such an intense and focused look. They stand in the middle of the hallway discussing the strange encounter. The friend is having the time of her life, while the black-haired girl tries to process her emotions. She cannot stop thinking about him and that haunting smile. It is stuck in her head, and she is starting to feel something she cannot quite explain to her friend yet. Later in class, Jinyoung is leaning on his hand, trying to act like a cool guy. He does not realize that the girl is still watching him from across the room. The friend keeps poking fun at the situation and suggests that Jinyoung might actually be the cool type. The black-haired girl is listening intently to every single word she says. She admits that a unique quality definitely exists within him. Her expression is soft, and she seems more intrigued by our boy than ever before despite his weird behavior earlier. She remembers a time they stood together at a crosswalk in the evening light. This memory seems to be fueling her growing interest in the strange boy with the glasses. The girl starts to realize that there is something incredibly intriguing about his behavior despite how bothersome he can be sometimes. Back at the lockers, Jinyoung is still consulting with his tiny shoulder mentor. He is trying to figure out if the desensitization strategy is actually working, or if he failed. He asks the tiny guy why he thinks the girl is acting so strange lately. The mentor just sits there with his arms crossed, looking equally puzzled by the entire situation. Jinyoung gets a serious look on his face as he contemplates their next move. He knows a different approach is necessary if he wants to succeed in winning her over. The tiny mentor is deep in thought, trying to come up with a solution to this tough problem. They are both reaching their limits with this current plan and need something new. Jinyoung suggests that maybe he should just look at a photo of her instead of staring in person. The tiny mentor looks absolutely stunned by this ridiculous and unexpected idea. The tiny mentor gives a confident thumbs up and seems to approve of this new tactical direction for their romantic mission. Back in the hallway, Jinyoung is getting roasted for being a total shadow lurker. His mentor tells him that stalking her social media from the sidelines is a total loser move that will get him nowhere. He needs to take a real chance. Jinyoung gathers every ounce of courage he has left to thrust his phone forward and ask the girl for her social media handle. She stops right in the middle of the hallway to process the sudden request while staring him down with her intense purple eyes. Instead of being creeped out, she gives him a beautiful and knowing smile that shows she enjoys having him wrapped around her finger. Jinyoung is absolutely stunned that his plan is actually working this smoothly, as he prepares to hand over his phone for her to type in the handle. She takes the smartphone and prepares to look up his profile, while Jinyoung tries his best to keep his cool during the evaluation. Her expression completely shifts into a look of pure confusion as she stares at something unexpected on his mobile screen. She turns the phone back toward him and asks if he seriously just made this account right this second, just to talk to her. Jinyoung tries to play it cool by explaining he does not really use social media and only threw the profile together in a desperate hurry. Instead of being weirded out by his rookie move, she bursts into a fit of adorable and genuine laughter at his clumsy attempt. She stands there pointing at the screen while her laughter echoes through the quiet hallway. Jinyoung just stands there like a statue, unsure if he should be embarrassed or happy that she is laughing. The situation has turned into a comedy. Our protagonist is completely lost and has no idea why his failed attempt at being smooth has turned into a total comedy act. His brain completely short-circuits as he tries to process the sudden shift in the mood, while his eyes widen with disbelief. Jinyoung realizes he was way too focused on his goal and forgot to be subtle, while she continues to laugh at his blatant desperation. The tiny mentor looks absolutely horrified as he watches the scene unfold and declares that Jinyoung has completely screwed up the entire operation. Jinyoung starts shaking and tries to defend his honor with some frantic and stuttered excuses. He stammers that he only made the account because he ran into her and had no other choice. He is vibrating with nervous energy. Her genuine laughter starts to shift the vibe from awkward to sweet, as she continues to giggle at his adorable misfortune. The conversation continues with Jinyoung trying to recover some shred of his dignity, while she clearly dominates the social interaction with ease. She holds his phone up with a mischievous grin and shows him that she is actually entering her private number for him. He is hyper-focused on her every word and gesture at this point, as he waits for the final verdict on his social media disaster. Jinyoung gulps down his nerves and basically prays that he has not completely ruined his chances with such a rookie mistake. She gives him a light, playful punch on the chest and admits she was just kidding around about the account being a problem. Their fingers briefly brush against each other as she hands the phone back, and his heart skips a beat from the small romantic contact. Before walking away, she tells him to make sure he likes her posts from now, on which leaves him standing alone in shock. He cannot believe he actually managed to get her info after such an absolute disaster of an approach, and stares at the screen in awe. His imagination immediately goes into overdrive as he envisions a future where they get married and have a baby they name Masuk. The tiny mentor snaps him out of his daydream and tells him to stop replaying the future film in the middle of the school hallway. Later that night, the city lights are glowing as everyone settles into their homes for the evening. The school day is over, but the events of the hallway are still echoing in two very different minds. Silence hangs over the neighborhood. Jiang Sunwoo relaxes on her bed in some comfy clothes, while scrolling through her phone after the events of the long school day. She suddenly spots something on her feed that makes her eyes widen with surprise, as she sees what our boy just posted online. Jinyoung posted a hilariously dorky selfie for his very first photo, and he looks so stiff and awkward that it is actually kind of charming. Back at his place, Jinyoung is tossing and turning in his pajamas, while wondering if she will ever actually see his cringy new post. A notification finally pops up in the middle of the night, showing that Jiang Sunwoo has officially liked his photo, which is a massive win. A giant heart notification floats over the apartment building, signaling that romance is finally in the air for our lucky protagonist tonight. Sejong kicks off her school morning with a ridiculous amount of energy, while gossiping with her friend about their latest online followers. Her friend has a total blast teasing her about some guy who went as far as creating brand new account just to follow her. Sejong follows up by asking a very specific question to figure out exactly who this mysterious new follower might be. Sejong suddenly catches sight of someone special through the window and her reaction tells you everything you need to know. Our boy Park Jin-young just casually walks past the classroom, while Sejong watches him like she has a plan in mind. The black-haired girl immediately notices the sudden shift in atmosphere and wonders what exactly has captured Sejong's attention. Jin-young stops in the middle of the hallway because he feels like someone is burning a hole in the back of his head. Sejong has literally thrown herself onto the floor and surrounded herself with imaginary flower petals for maximum drama. She puts on a masterclass in fake acting and tries to guilt-trip him into being her knight in shining armor. Our protagonist just stares down at her with zero emotion and is clearly not buying this ridiculous performance for 1 second. Realizing her plan failed miserably, Sejong literally turns into a gray stone of pure embarrassment right there on the floor. Jin-young does not even say a word and just grabs her by the back of her hoodie to lift her up like a misbehaving kitten. He drops her and keeps walking down the hallway while leaving the drama queen behind to rethink her life choices. Sejong is fuming in the background and looks totally flustered that her charms did not work on him at all. Back in the classroom, the black-haired girl is having a total laughing fit at the expense of Sejong's failed attempt. Sejong is left in a state of total disbelief, while Jin-young heads out for the day with way too many thoughts running through his head. Jin-young is walking home when this tiny dude with a mustache suddenly appears on his shoulder to give him some questionable life advice. He is checking his phone, and his face turns bright red as he looks at something that catches him off guard. It turns out he is looking at the black-haired girl's social media profile, and he is clearly deep in the rabbit hole. He realizes that browsing her photos is going to take a long time. The tiny mustache man on his shoulder is not having any of his hesitation and tells him to finally take some action. Jin-young narrows his eyes and tries to summon every bit of courage he has to actually do something productive for once. Suddenly he stops dead in his tracks and lets out a gasp of pure shock when he sees someone ahead. The girl from his phone screen is standing right there in the real world and looking as stunning as ever. He cannot believe she is actually right in front of him by the school gate. She looks over and spots him standing there, and the tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. When she actually greets him, our protagonist literally has a mental breakdown and nearly drops his phone. He was definitely not prepared for this interaction today. Jin-young completely loses his cool and starts blushing like his face is on fire because he was caught off guard by her sudden appearance. They meet up at the school gate where she tells him she needs bus fare to get home because she is broke. She explains that she resides over at the Simo Village apartments and tries to look as innocent as possible to gain his sympathy. Jin-young points out the obvious flaw in her story, since those apartments are literally right across the street from where they are standing. She does not miss a beat, and immediately switches her tactics to the classic puppy-dog eye routine to win him over. To sell the lie, she claims she suffers from chronic anemia and cannot possibly walk that short distance without help. Even though he knows it is trap, our boy is a total sucker for her and starts opening his wallet to help. Before he can even hand over the cash, she grabs him by the arm and starts dragging him along with surprising strength. She is leading him right across the street, while he is way too confused and flustered to even think about resisting. Jin-young looks like he just got hit by lightning as he realizes he is being kidnapped by his crush for a walk home. The sun begins to set over the neighborhood, while the black-haired girl continues her long-winded explanation for why she needed help. Our boy Jin-young is walking with the girl of his dreams, but he is stiff as a board. She is chatting happily while he tries not to explode from nervousness. Jin-young's brain is basically short-circuiting from nervousness, while he struggles to find even a single word to say back to her. The black-haired girl notices his awkward silence and calls him out for not paying enough attention to the story she is telling. Jin-young is so lost in his own head that he can barely function while walking right next to the girl he likes. But get this, things were not always this sweet between them. A long time ago, a very different kind of situation went down. Since they spent every single day together as children, it was only a matter of time before our hero started developing major feelings for his friend. Some local bullies started teasing them, asking why they were hanging out. It was that classic childhood drama that feels like the end of the world. Sejong finally reaches her limit and explodes with anger because she cannot stand being teased by the neighborhood bullies anymore. She screamed that there is no way she would ever date a guy like him, Talk about a brutal rejection that would haunt anyone for years. Back in the present, Jin Young just wants this uncomfortable walk home to be over as fast as possible. The memory of that rejection still stings. He thinks this is probably a one-time thing anyway, since she usually takes the bus. He does not expect this to ever happen again. Suddenly, he hears a strange sound and stops in his tracks. Something is definitely wrong with the girl walking beside him. He turns around to find Sejong collapsed on the ground, gasping for air. She looks like she is in total distress and calls out to him. Panic mode activates as our boy rushes over to see if she is actually okay. He was not prepared for a medical emergency on the way home. She claims her chronic anemia is acting up because of the steep uphill climb. She is huffing and puffing like she just ran a marathon. She reaches out her hand and asks if he can support her for a little bit. Jin Young is way too flustered to say no. He attempts to play the hero and help her stand up slowly, but the sudden physical contact has him trembling with nervousness. She starts leaning all her weight on him, complaining about being dizzy. Our boy is trying his hardest not to freak out from the contact. Sejong maintains her dramatic display of exhaustion, while secretly gauging his reaction to see if he is falling for her act. Jin Young tries to shake the feeling off, telling himself his imagination is just getting out of hand again. He needs to focus on the situation. He pictures himself literally carrying her like a piece of luggage just to get through this walk. His brain is a very weird place, everyone. Meanwhile, Sejong is over there giggling to herself like she has a secret she is not telling. That does not look like someone who is fainting. Jin Young jumps out of his skin when she suddenly points at him and asks what he is talking about. She caught him in his thoughts. Finally reaching his place, he tells her they should probably say their goodbyes here. He needs to escape this tension immediately. She waves him off with a cheerful thanks for the escort. Just like that, the crisis seems to have vanished into thin air. He lets out a massive sigh of relief because that was way too much stress for one afternoon. He is just glad it is over. Our protagonist watches her walk off into the distance, finally catching his breath. He thinks he can finally relax and head inside. He turns to walk away, bathed in the orange glow of the sunset. He thinks he survived the most awkward moment of his life. They both start walking in opposite directions as the day finally comes to an end. It looks like a perfectly normal conclusion to their walk. But wait, Sejong's expression shifts into something much more calculated. That innocent look she had before is starting to fade away. Jin Young is just about to walk into his house when he feels a sudden chill down his spine. Something feels very off about this goodbye. He stops and looks back one last time, wondering if he missed something. His gut is telling him that things are not what they seem. Sejong corners him and leans in close enough to share her breath, finally dropping her innocent facade to reveal her true predatory nature. He freezes as she gets close enough to whisper in his ear. The hunt is on, and our boy is completely defenseless. A heavy silence hung in the air as the atmosphere shifted. Something intense was about to go down, and the mood was definitely getting a bit dark. This massive powerhouse of a man suddenly appears to flex his muscles and show off his overwhelming physical strength to the world. Our boy Park Jin-young was just minding his own business, walking through the neighborhood under the golden sunset. He looked like he was having a great day. Suddenly, a loud thud broke the silence and caught him completely off guard. He stopped in his tracks, looking totally confused by the unexpected noise. He discovers the girl gasping for air on the sidewalk after she pushed her body way past its limits during her run. Jin-young panics as he tries to figure out why the girl would push herself to the point of total physical exhaustion during their walk. This girl decides to practice her martial arts moves in the school hallway, while her friend watches the strange display in total disbelief. Jason explains that he is shirtless because it is just way too hot to wear clothes while lounging in the room. Our protagonist Park Jin-young just sits there with a blank expression, looking like he is already tired of this day before it even begins. The two of them have a very strange roommate dynamic going on in this small bedroom, and the vibes are definitely a little off. Jin-young stares off into the distance, trying to wrap his head around the crazy information he just heard from his muscular friend. He bites his lip in total nervousness, while trying to find the courage to start his morning and face the world. Jason continues his lecture and gestures wildly while trying to convince Jin Yong that his bizarre theories are actually correct. Enough talking for now, because Jin Yong reaches out and grabs his backpack to finally get ready for his school day. He slowly opens the door and creeps out into the hallway, hoping for a quiet exit without drawing any unwanted attention. Our boy looks around the corner to make sure the coast is clear before he moves an inch further into the house. Jin Yong runs into his stern father, who looks like he is about to deliver a very long lecture for the morning. Jin Yong bows deeply as a sign of respect, while his dad asks if he actually managed to get any sleep last night. He starts sweating under the pressure because he cannot exactly tell the truth about his buff, invisible roommate to his old man. His father narrows his eyes behind his glasses and looks completely unconvinced by whatever lame excuse his son is currently making. Jin Yong mutters a quick yes, father, and hurries away toward the living room to escape the awkward vibe as fast as possible. Once he gets clear of his dad, his heart is racing, and he feels like he just barely managed to dodge a bullet. The stress is clearly getting to him as he adjusts his round glasses with trembling hands and tries to stay calm. As he arrives at school, he starts wondering if Jason's insane theory might actually be the truth of their reality. Get this, because Jason has shrunk down to the size of a doll and is literally sitting on Jin Yong's shoulder like a gym bro. Our hero hopes the theory is wrong, while the tiny version of Jason tells him not to worry about it so much. A sudden poof sound makes him turn his head, and he catches a glimpse of someone watching him from the shadows. A mysterious girl with her hair tied up in a bun is lurking nearby, and she looks like she means business. This girl in the yellow hoodie stands her ground with her arms crossed and a very serious expression on her face. She looks directly at him with those big eyes, and you just know things are about to get chaotic for our protagonist. Jin Yong is completely lost and has no clue who this person is or why she is confronting him in the hallway. She claims she can hurt him right then and there while he desperately asks her who she even is supposed to be. She acts incredibly dramatic and falls to the floor while complaining about being humiliated by his rude behavior. Our boy is not in the mood for games, and he just lifts her up by the back of her hoodie like a kitten. She tells him to brace himself and holds up 3 fingers to start a dangerous countdown for whatever she is planning. He just stands there with a confused look, thinking this girl has definitely lost her mind, or she is just a psycho. She launches a high kick with massive power that barely misses his head as he tries to escape the situation. He dodges the strike and immediately starts sprinting down the hall while she screams in total frustration behind him. This girl is fast because she launches herself into a sprint and starts chasing him through the school corridors like a hunter. Jin Yong looks back with a terrified face as he realizes she is gaining ground on him with every single step. The girl closes the distance with a terrifying look on her face and an aura of pure malice that scares our hero. Our protagonist is running for his life, and he better hope those glasses do not fall off during this intense chase. Jin Yong is shocked as the girl in the yellow hoodie pops out of nowhere. She looks way too energetic for a school hallway, and her sudden appearance catches our boy completely off guard. Jin Yong struggles to keep his balance while sprinting away as fast as his legs can possibly carry him through the hall. Our boy lets out a silent scream of terror as he realizes he cannot stop his momentum. His eyes are practically popping out of his head from the sheer surprise of the situation. Meanwhile, a mysterious dark-haired girl is watching the chaos unfold from behind a wall. She looks completely unbothered by the commotion and just stares as the scene develops. She accidentally delivers a powerful kick to the back of the dark-haired girl's legs and sends her flying forward. Our dark-haired girl is absolutely stunned by the sudden attack. She never saw that kick coming, and her face says it all as she starts to fall backward into the air. Yellow hoodie girl is just standing there looking proud of herself for the sneak attack. She even lets out little whoa like she did not actually mean to cause a massive scene. The dark-haired girl collapses onto the cold tile floor in a heap. This is turning into a total disaster for everyone involved in this hallway chase, as things get even weirder. Jin Yong is still in full sprint mode, but his tie is flying everywhere. He is desperately trying to keep his footing while his brain is short-circuiting from everything happening around him. Bad news for our boy as his foot slips right out of his sandal. He loses all control of his movement and starts a graceful descent toward the floor. Jin Yong goes flying through the air and lands flat on his face with a loud thud. His glasses go airborne as he completely eats the floor right in front of the stunned yellow hoodie girl. He is face down on the ground wondering where his life went wrong today. The hallway is finally quiet now that the chaos has come to a crashing halt. Both of them are now scattered across the hallway floor after that chaotic sequence of events. The girl in the yellow hoodie stands over the wreckage wondering how a simple chase ended in such a disaster. Jin-young is spread out like a starfish on the floor and looks like he is done with life. At least he did not lose his backpack during that Olympic-level faceplant. The girl in the yellow hoodie finally realizes she might have messed up big time. She lets out a tiny ah as she stares at the wreckage she caused in the hallway. The chaos finally subsides as the students are taken to the school infirmary to recover from the collision. Both of our main characters need some serious medical attention after that brutal hallway chase. Both Jin-young and the dark-haired girl are resting on separate beds in the nurse office. It is an awkward silence that you can practically feel through the screen as they recover. They are just staring at the ceiling in total silence without saying a word. It is the kind of moment where you want to speak, but your brain is completely fried from the pain. Jin-young has a massive bandage over his nose, and he looks absolutely pathetic. He mentions a guy named Jason and wonders what is going to happen next in this mess. Suddenly, our boy starts imagining a buff dude with a mustache drinking tea in a fancy room. This man looks like he walked straight out of a different genre entirely and asks Jin-young what he is doing. It is a total mental shift that shows how much the fall rattled his brain. Jin-young snaps back to reality with a throbbing nose and a look of complete defeat on his face. He really looks like he just went 10 rounds with a professional boxer and lost every single one. The dark-haired girl is lying there looking surprisingly peaceful despite the fall earlier. She is just staring off into space while her hair spreads across the pillow like a dark cloud. She turns her head and looks over at Jin-young with a small, amused smile. She seems to find the whole situation a little bit funny despite the pain she is in. Our boy looks back at her and mentions that they are actually having something good soon. He is trying his best to make small talk while his nose is throbbing from the bandage. She asks Jin-young if he ever bothers to eat breakfast before heading out to school in the morning. He admits that he usually skips his morning meal just so he can get out of the house early and avoid his family. She explains that being alone together with someone is a bit awkward for her. That is why she just leaves her place ahead of schedule to find some peace and quiet. Jin-young listens intently as she opens up about her lonely morning routine. It is a rare quiet moment for a guy who is usually running for his life in this school. His eyes widen behind his glasses as he remembers a specific moment from before the fall. The tension in the room is starting to build as he focuses on her face. He remembers the exact moment in the hallway when he accidentally blurted out that she was really pretty. The world seemed to stop for a second during that encounter, and he cannot believe he actually said it. Jin-young is sweating bullets as he thinks back to that accidental confession. He cannot believe he actually had the guts to say something like that out loud to her. Back in the present, she is just staring at him with those deep purple eyes. She is clearly waiting for him to say something or do something more about his feelings. A mischievous grin spreads across her face as she leans in closer to him. She is definitely enjoying how flustered our boy is getting right now in the nurse office. Jin-young bolts upright in bed with his hands up like he is being caught doing something wrong. His face is bright red, and he is panicking at the sudden change in her behavior. His heart is pounding so loud he thinks she can probably hear it through the bed. He is a total mess, and he has no idea how to handle a girl being this forward with him. She just sits there and laughs at his frantic reaction to her teasing. It looks like our boy is in way over his head with this girl, and things are only getting started. The girl is totally playing with him and tells Jin-young straight up that teasing him is her favorite hobby. He has absolutely no idea how to handle this kind of chaotic energy right now. The two of them sit across from each other in the infirmary while Jin-young tries his best to disappear into his own bed. She is just chilling there and enjoying every second of his absolute misery. Jin-young is sweating buckets as his brain basically turns into mush from the sheer embarrassment. He can barely even squeeze out a groan while he tries to process her playful personality. This girl is absolutely ruthless and lets out a huge laugh right in his face. She knows she has him exactly where she wants him, while poor Jinyoung wishes the ground would just swallow him whole. She actually looks stunning when she gives a genuine smile like that. It is clear that she is having the time of her life laughing at his expense and messing with his head. Our protagonist is literally overheating and has to clutch his uniform just to keep himself together. His heart is doing marathons because this girl is clearly way too dangerous for his health. Our boy starts having another weird daydream about the buff guy with the mustache. This mentor figure starts explaining some leading theories about romance, while Jinyoung just sits there looking totally confused. This mustache guy looks like he has seen some things and wears a deep, soulful expression. You have to wonder if he is a master of romance or just a total weirdo giving out bad advice. Back in reality, the girl's laughter continues to echo through the quiet infirmary. Jinyoung is staring at her completely captivated, despite how much she is messing with his head right now. The mustache guy returns to the screen looking like a total gentleman in his fancy suit. He is sipping tea and acting like a high-class mentor who is about to drop some serious knowledge. They share a quiet moment in the infirmary as the weight of their conversation finally settles between them. It is clear that after everything they have been through, their relationship is shifting into something much deeper than just being classmates. While the school looks peaceful from the outside, the situation inside is rapidly spiraling out of control. Nobody realizes that a massive storm of drama is brewing in the hallways and things are about to get incredibly messy for everyone involved. Jinyoung suddenly grabs this girl in the yellow hoodie from behind, and she completely panics. She screams for him to wait a second, because she was not prepared for him to be this aggressive or physical out of nowhere. The black-haired girl catches Jinyoung red-handed with another woman, and she is absolutely fuming. She raises her fists and demands that he let go of that girl immediately before she loses her cool and does something they will both regret. She is officially on the warpath and looking to cause some serious damage to anyone in her way. Any chance of a peaceful resolution is gone because her jealousy has turned into a pure rage that is about to explode. Without even waiting for an explanation, she launches a devastating high kick that sends both of them flying through the air. This jealous outburst has escalated way too quickly, and now Jinyoung is paying the ultimate price for this misunderstanding. Jinyoung is completely knocked out and feels his soul leaving his body after taking that direct hit to the face. That is the price you pay for getting caught in a compromising position with a girl who clearly knows how to fight. Park Jinyoung stands tall and serious as he prepares himself for what feels like the most important conversation of his life. The girl remains silent and looks incredibly conflicted about how she should respond to the heavy situation. She suddenly turns around to face him, and the tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. It looks like a classic confession scene is about to go down. But hold on, because Jinyoung suddenly bolts upright in bed with a look of pure terror. It turns out the whole romantic moment was just a dream, and he is sweating bullets. Our protagonist suddenly wakes up in a cold sweat, his eyes wide with absolute terror. He can barely breathe after seeing such a horrifying vision in his sleep. Then he notices his roommate Jason sitting right there in his computer chair. This dude is an absolute unit with a thick mustache, and he is wearing matching blue pajamas and a sleep cap. Jinyoung tries to calm his racing heart while sitting on the edge of his bed. He looks completely exhausted and embarrassed that his buddy just watched him wake up screaming. Jason just sits there with his massive arms crossed over his knees while staring at our protagonist. The size difference between these two is honestly hilarious considering they are in the same room. The muscular roommate lets out a knowing oh-ho like he has already figured out exactly what kind of dream Jinyoung was having. His smirk says everything we need to know. He closes his eyes and smiles with total confidence, as if he is proud of our boy's growing imagination. This guy is definitely the type to give unsolicited dating advice. Jinyoung can only sit there in stunned silence while looking down at his hands. He is clearly too traumatized by the dream and Jason's reaction to even say a word back. Jason gives him a massive thumbs up of encouragement. He is basically telling our boy that everything is going according to plan and he should just go for it. Jinyoung heads to school while trying his best to ignore the tiny muscle-bound spirit currently perched on his shoulder. Jin Yong is sweating again because having a miniature muscular man whispering in your ear at school is a recipe for disaster. He is trying his best to act like nothing is wrong. He finally tracks down the exact location of Sunwoo's old homeroom to find some much-needed answers. This room holds the key to everything that has been going wrong lately. As he reaches for the door, he admits that he is incredibly nervous. Tiny Jason tells him to stop trembling so much and to man up for the mission ahead. He slides the door open and scans the room, but the atmosphere is totally different than what he expected. Most of the students are just lounging around or sleeping at their desks. Our protagonist looks around and wonders if Sunwoo just went to the restroom or if she is missing entirely. Tiny Jason is sitting on his shoulder and thinking hard about the situation. Suddenly, a poof of smoke appears right next to Jin Yong's head, and he flinches back in surprise. Something big is about to manifest, and it is not looking friendly. A large student in a very tight suit stands before him with a grumpy expression. This dude looks like he belongs in a corporate office instead of a high school classroom. Jin Yong is completely stunned, and his glasses turn opaque from the shock of seeing this guy. He is wondering how someone this big even fits into those school clothes. The big student slams his hands down on a desk and lets out a loud humph to show his annoyance. He clearly thinks our protagonist is just some loser wasting his time. Tiny Jason is absolutely losing his mind on Jin Yong's shoulder. He says that something about this guy displeases him, and he has a sudden urge to commit assault. The mustache man on his shoulder has a look of pure bloodlust. He is ready to throw hands even though he is only a few inches tall, and it is honestly kind of terrifying. Jin Yong tries to keep the situation under control, while the larger student remains unimpressed by his presence. The student in the suit looks up with a gaze of pure condescension through his glasses. He clearly has no respect for anyone else, and thinks he is the top dog of the class. Jin Yong stands his ground against the massive student, while the atmosphere between them becomes increasingly hostile. Jin Yong makes a disgusted face like he just walked into a room full of garbage. He cannot believe he has to deal with this kind of attitude first thing in the morning. Things escalate quickly when Tiny Jason reaches for something behind his back. The little guy is not playing around anymore and is looking for a way to end this talk. Our boy has to tell Jason to hold back because the tiny spirit actually pulled out a massive machine gun. This escalated from a school chat to a war zone real fast. Jin Yong tries one more time and asks the big student if he really has no idea where Sunwoo went. He calls him buddy to try and lower the heat, but it is not working. The arrogant student gives him a cold stare and refuses to provide any helpful information about Sunwoo's whereabouts. Our protagonist lets out a small laugh because the audacity of this guy is actually hilarious. He is starting to lose his patience, and his glasses are catching the light. The suited student looks back over his shoulder with a glare that could kill. He is not used to people laughing at him, and he looks ready to explode. Jin Yong tells the guy to just stand up because he has something very special to give him. It looks like the talking is over, and a beatdown is about to commence. Cumin took a deep breath and looked like he was about to burst right out of his uniform while staring intensely at our protagonist. Jin Yong decides he has had enough and dramatically whips off his school jacket to prepare for the upcoming fight. Then the real show started, as Cumin began slapping his own belly with a rhythmic thud that echoed throughout the entire classroom. He was really getting into the performance, and showing off his midsection like it was some kind of secret weapon to impress everyone. The slapping continued with full energy as he put on a bizarre dance move that left Jin Yong completely speechless and wondering what was happening. Just when things could not get any weirder or more embarrassing, the beautiful Sunwoo suddenly opened the door and caught them right in the act. Both guys froze in pure terror as she called out to them, while Cumin desperately tried to cover himself up with his jacket. Jin Yong looked like his soul was leaving his body from the sheer embarrassment of being caught in such a ridiculous situation by his crush. Sunwoo just laughed it off and said that Cumin was always acting like a total goofball ever since they were little kids. Our protagonist looked over at Cumin, who was now giggling like he had not just humiliated both of them in front of the prettiest girl. She tilted her head and asked if they had really known each other since they were just tiny children running around the neighborhood. Cumin got all bashful and confirmed that they were indeed childhood friends who had known each other since they were practically still in diapers. Later on, while they were sitting together on a bench, Cumin tried to act tough and claimed that the earlier incident did not even hurt his pride. Jin Yong was genuinely curious about their history and asked if they had really been close friends since they were only 3 years old. Our boy realized this was the perfect moment to try out Jason's secret strategy to get closer to the girl he actually liked. Cumin looked at him with a confused face and asked what he was even talking about with all that strategy talk. They watched from a distance as a literal truckload of guys followed Sunwoo wherever she went because she was the most popular girl in school. Cumin turned serious for a second and explained that she was not just any ordinary student that someone could easily approach anymore. He pointed out that she already had over 2,000 followers on social media and was basically a local celebrity at their school. Sitting there together, they both realized that trying to date someone that popular was going to be a massive and difficult challenge. Cumin leaned in and told Jin Yong that even though they were close, something about her had started to feel very different lately. He started thinking back to the days when they were just tiny kids playing around and having fun without a single care in the world. They used to go to all the same schools and spent every waking moment together as a duo, even if they fought over toys sometimes. As they grew up, Sunwoo started to change significantly, and she became the center of attention in every single hallway she walked through. Cumin remembered trying to greet her one day back in middle school, just like they always did, but the vibe was totally off. He stopped in his tracks when he noticed a look on her face that he had never seen before in all their years together. She turned around with a cold stare that felt like it could pierce right through him, and it was nothing like the warmth he remembered. Even though she was still smiling, just like she always did, Cumin could tell that she was no longer the same Sunwoo he knew. Back in the present, Cumin admitted that ever since that specific day in middle school, Sunwoo had felt like a complete stranger to him. He looked Jin Yong in the eye and told him that it might be better to just give up on her before he got hurt. They looked up at the massive school building and wondered if there was something seriously off about the girl they thought they knew. As they walked through the hall together, Cumin asked him what it actually feels like to have those kinds of complicated romantic feelings. He tried to act like it was just a silly story he could easily brush off and forget about, but his face told a different story. But then they both came to a dead stop when they noticed something happening in the corridor right in front of them. They finally spotted her in the distance, but she was not alone, as she was hanging out with a girl named Park Ji-yoon while looking totally different. Jin Yong starts sweating buckets as he realizes they just got caught red-handed. He knows he absolutely cannot let her find out that they were just gossiping about her behind her back. Cumin is not helping the situation at all by staring her down with a terrifyingly blank expression that makes everything feel 10 times more awkward. Our hero finally reaches his limit and lets out a massive scream of pure terror because the pressure of the situation has become completely unbearable. The tension in the hallway is thick enough to cut with a knife. Our boy Park Jin Yong stands there while the school bullies prepare to make his life a living hell. This girl Seonwoo looks absolutely mortified by what is happening. She tries to de-escalate the situation, but the atmosphere is already ruined and things are about to get wild. The girl in the yellow hoodie is not having any of it and starts laughing. She mocks Jin Yong by telling him that his true character level is starting to show. Jin Yong has finally reached his limit and snaps. He whips his jacket around with enough force to create a sonic boom as he prepares to strike back at his tormentors. The chubby student in the suit finds out the hard way that Jin Yong is not someone to mess with. He gets a massive smack right on the rear that sends him flying. Our protagonist does not stop with just one hit and delivers another massive blow that leaves his target completely reeling from the impact. Suddenly, this muscular guy with a mustache and sunglasses appears. He looks like a seasoned mercenary and comments that he almost had to use his gun to handle the situation. This guy is clearly the manifestation of Jin Yong's internal rage. He grips a massive machine gun while looking like he just stepped out of an action movie to save the day. Back in reality, the girls are watching in pure confusion. They have no idea why Jin Yong is suddenly acting like a madman while chasing the other student away into the distance. Seonwoo watches the chaos with a worried look on her face. She can tell that something is deeply wrong with her friend today, and she does not know what to do. The school day finally ends, and the afternoon sun hits the buildings. It is a quiet transition, but things are far from normal for our protagonist as he leaves for the day. Jin Yong walks out of the gates looking completely drained and defeated. He is lost in his own head as he tries to process his weird behavior and the stress of the day. This tiny, muscular mercenary is literally sitting on Jin Yong's shoulder like a bad conscience. He is whispering into his ear and keeping the tension high as they walk home together. From a distance, Sianwoo is watching him walk away with a dark expression. She thinks to herself that he is acting way too strange, and maybe she should just have him butchered. Jin Yong hears his name being called and stops in his tracks. He turns around slowly as if he is expecting another confrontation, or perhaps even more bad news today. He is completely stunned by her sudden change in personality, as she treats him with a warmth he never expected to see after the events of the morning. Jin Yong is caught totally off guard when Sianwoo suddenly calls out to him on the street. He is visibly shaken by the unexpected encounter and struggles to find his cool as his heart starts racing. He tries to compose himself, but his brain is basically short-circuiting. Jin Yong thinks that this girl is just way too much for him to handle, and her mood swings are driving him crazy. Sianwoo just gives him this incredibly cute and innocent laugh. It is the kind of smile that makes a guy forget that she was just thinking about something dark a moment ago. Jin Yong starts apologizing and swearing that he was not talking bad about her. She just waves it off with a casual smile and tells him that she already knows everything he said. She gives him a playful smack on the back that almost sends him face first into the pavement. This girl does not realize her own strength when she is joking around with him. The conversation shifts as she asks him why he does not have any bus money today. It seems like walking home together is becoming the new plan for both of them. Just the thought of having to hike up this massive neighborhood hill is enough to make him break out in a cold sweat while he is already exhausted. That imaginary muscular dude pops back up to remind him of his guilt. He reminds Jin Yong that he definitely did talk behind her back earlier and should feel bad about it. His inner conscience appears as a battle-hardened soldier to remind him that a real man should never complain about a little bit of hard work. Our boy is sweating bullets as he tries to hide his nervous expression. He is terrified that Sianwoo might actually know what he was thinking about her behind her back earlier today. He steals a quick glance at her while his heart is pounding against his ribs. He is trying to figure out if she is being serious or just trying to mess with him. The long road ahead looks absolutely exhausting, and she stops for a moment to consider how much energy the climb will take for both of them. Jin Yong catches up and wonders why she stopped all of a sudden. He is hoping she found a shortcut or a reason to turn back so they do not have to climb anymore. She explains that the steep slopes and stairs in the neighborhood always leave her feeling completely exhausted and lightheaded within just a few minutes. He can hardly believe his ears when she shamelessly asks him to place his hands on her back and give her a physical boost up the hill. Sianwoo starts rushing him to get moving because she wants to be back in the comfort of her own home as soon as possible today. And just like that, he is literally pushing her up the hill while she enjoys the ride. Our boy is doing all the hard work while she just glides along without any effort. She enjoys the free lift as they continue to climb higher up the street, while he does all the heavy lifting for her convenience. Jin Yong is literally putting his back into it, pushing Sianwoo up the steep incline while she looks like she is having the absolute time of her life. Our boy is starting to realize that she might just be playing with him, but he can't help being completely flustered by her casual attitude. He tries to keep his cool, but his heart is racing as he stares at the girl in front of him, wondering what she is thinking. He tries to process his internal feelings as he realizes just how close they are and how strange this whole situation has become for him. Sianwoo tells him to slow down his pace a little bit so she can enjoy the easy ride while he does all the hard work moving forward. His imagination takes over, and he envisions a beautiful world where he is heroically carrying his crush on his back through a field of magical sparkles. Jason claps with hearts in the background, clearly impressed by the romantic progress the two of them are making. Jin Yong is completely wiped out from the steep climb, gasping for air as he struggles to keep up with the pace. They both look absolutely drained, with Sianwoo blushing like crazy and our boy looking like his soul is about to leave his body from exhaustion. Jin Yong stops for a moment his brain trying to process the intense situation he has just found himself in with his classmate. The boy is stunned as he looks around, finally noticing the beautiful buildings and the atmosphere at the top of the hill. Our protagonist takes a moment to appreciate the open space, feeling a massive sense of relief now that the hard part of the climb is over. He looks over at Sianwoo, realizing that this might be a much more significant moment for their relationship than he originally thought it would be. Jin Young is lost in thought while looking at the city, realizing he had no idea such a beautiful place existed right in his own neighborhood. From the balcony, the group watches the sunset over the sprawling city, and Jin Young admits he never knew about this spot. Sianwoo points out that a chronic anemia patient like her probably shouldn't be scaling massive hills just for a nice view. Sianwoo is left wide-eyed and blushing, her expression one of pure surprise as she takes in his words. Jin Young looks at her with wide eyes, surprised by the sudden change in her tone as she addresses him directly. Standing together against the backdrop of the city, she tells him that since he showed her this view, she will let his past mistakes slide. Our boy can barely maintain eye contact, his heart racing as he tries to find the right words in this intimate setting. She gently brushes her hair back and looks out at the sunset, remarking on how pretty the world looks from up here. Our protagonist clenches his jaw as a bead of nervous sweat rolls down his face, highlighting the tension he is feeling. Suddenly, this stout man in a business suit who looks like he means serious business. He stares ahead with a cold expression, adding a layer of intimidation to the current situation. He takes a deep breath, preparing himself to say something that could change the entire dynamic between them forever. Our protagonist finally calls out her name, his hand clenched into a tight fist as he tries to find the courage to speak his mind. Sianwoo turns back to him with a surprised expression, her eyes wide as she waits to hear what he has to say in this moment. Sianwoo looks at him with a mix of surprise and suspicion, her heart skipping a beat as she waits for him to explain himself. The atmosphere gets heavy as she stares him down, her face unreadable while the city lights begin to flicker on in the distance. The girl stands there in the evening light, her expression softening as she processes the sincere words he just yelled out. Jin Young looks like he is about to have a heart attack from the stress, desperately hoping she believes he isn't a bad guy. She stares at him with wide, curious eyes, clearly affected by how hard he is trying to prove his innocence to her. Our protagonist shouts at the top of his lungs, swearing to the heavens that he never actually said anything bad about her. He awkwardly scratches the back of his head, feeling like a total idiot for having to make such a dramatic scene in public. The girl maintains quiet, thoughtful gaze as she looks back at him, the evening light highlighting her features. With the misunderstanding cleared up, the two of them agree to head back home as the last bit of light disappears from the evening sky. The city skyline is painted in shades of orange and pink as the sun begins to dip below the horizon behind the buildings. Our girl turns around and gives him a final wave as she heads into the distance. Jin Young just stands there, calling out a simple goodbye while watching her go. Sianwoo waves goodbye as she walks away, leaving him standing there in the middle of the street completely dazed. Our boy stands frozen in place with a blank expression, his brain failing to compute the roller coaster of emotions he just experienced. Jin Young is still sweating bullets, wondering if he actually made a good impression or just looked like a total dork. Jason is still lurking in the back of his mind like a weird mentor. Jin Young is momentarily distracted by the mental projection of Jason, who lingers in his thoughts to offer silent commentary. Jason gives a knowing smirk, looking like a proud mentor who watched his student finally make a move that worked. But wait, look at her face. She is actually blushing and looking a little dazed after their conversation. Man, she is definitely catching some serious feelings for our boy. Jin Young's words echo in her head as the sun sets. He had told her that he just really wanted to know more about her, and clearly, that honesty hit her harder than he realized. He thinks back to the moment he bared his soul, telling her that he just genuinely wanted to know the real her. She can't help but smile to herself, realizing that his blunt honesty has a way of hitting her right in the heart. She begins her trek through the neighborhood while struggling to stay upright, as the sheer weight of the day's events starts to become unbearable. The exhaustion becomes too much to handle, causing her to drop onto the pavement and wheeze while complaining about her total lack of physical endurance. She reveals her truly unhinged side by telling the rude man that she will butcher him, and use his remains as meat for her kimchi stew. Another day at school begins, but things are about to get a lot more intense than a standard math class. The sun is shining over the campus as students head inside for their morning lessons. This dude right here looks like he just stepped out of a vintage workout video with that mustache and those crazed eyes. He is radiating pure energy, and he is not here to play games. Park Jin-young walks through the hallway while a tiny gym mentor hitches a ride on his shoulder to keep him on track. This miniature spirit refuses to let him slack off for even a single second during the school day. The tiny trainer is barking orders, telling Jin-young that he needs to work up a sweat and finally become a real man. Jin-young looks a bit skeptical, like he is just tired of the constant nagging. Suddenly, his eyes widen behind those glasses as he spots something or someone ahead that completely throws him off his game. He freezes in place as the tiny trainer keeps shouting in his ear. His sneakers screech against the floor as he comes to a dead halt. Something about this situation is making him act very strange, and he is clearly trying to keep a low profile. Our protagonist drops down to one knee, pretending to tie his shoelaces just to avoid eye contact with whoever is approaching. Talk about a classic move to avoid an awkward encounter. He tries to look casual while glancing sideways, but the sweat on his face tells a completely different story. He knows he is in trouble, and there is no escaping the person standing right behind him. That person turns out to be Jo Han-jeol, and she is definitely not happy to see him slacking off in the hallway. She towers over him with a presence that would make any student start trembling. At 26 years old, she has that mature and sharp look that screams authority. She is staring him down with a gaze that is both beautiful and terrifyingly stern at the same time. Jin-young looks up, and his brain basically short-circuits from the pressure. He is stammering and sweating buckets, while the tiny trainer on his shoulder just watches the chaos unfold. Han-jeol reaches out and places a firm hand on his head like she is dealing with a misbehaving puppy. This is a total power move, and it leaves our boy feeling more embarrassed than ever. The hallway feels miles long as she asks him why he is acting so suspicious. Jin-young is basically bowing at this point, unable to find the right words to explain his weird behavior. She looks down at him with a mix of boredom and disappointment, like she has seen this act 1,000 times before. Her eyes are sharp behind those glasses, and she is waiting for a real answer. Han-jeol leans in close to get on his level, making the tension in the room skyrocket. She is making sure he understands that he cannot just hide from his responsibilities by tying his shoes. Eventually, she decides she has wasted enough time and struts away, leaving Jin-young still kneeling on the cold floor. He is left in the dust, wondering how his life got so complicated. He watches her go with a look of pure exhaustion on his face. The tiny trainer is probably still yelling at him to get up, but Jin-young just needs a moment to process what just happened. In his mind, she has transformed into this gray, stone-faced monster that haunts his every move. This vision of her perfectly captures how much she intimidates him whenever she is around. He walks through a crowd of faceless students, feeling like a total outsider in his own school. He clenches his fists and keeps his head down while trying to ignore the judgmental stares of everyone around him. But get this, our boy is actually putting in the work. He is hunched over his desk at home, grinding through piles of books and notes, trying to improve himself in every way possible. And the grind does not stop at books. He hits the gym with his mustache mentor and pushes himself until his muscles are screaming. He is determined to change his image no matter how hard it gets. All the training finally pays off on the soccer field when Jin-young launches a kick so powerful it looks like it could break the sound barrier. He finally demonstrates the incredible athleticism he has been building up in secret during his intense workout sessions. The goalie is absolutely hopeless as the ball screams past him into the back of the net. This dude is literally flying through the air trying to stop it, but Jin-young is just too fast. His teammates are losing their minds and cheering for him as he stands there with a big, goofy smile. It looks like he is finally finding his place and gaining the respect of the other guys. Meanwhile, the opposing goalie is left sweating and panting while staring at the ground. He has no idea how a guy who looked so average suddenly turned into a soccer god. On the sidelines, two girls are watching the match, and they have definitely noticed the change in Jin-young. One in a yellow hoodie looks curious, while the other seems to be deep in thought. The girls walk along the fence and joke about how the classroom is going to smell like a locker room after all that intense sweating. Even while they gossip about the heat, their attention remains fixed on Jin Yong's surprising performance on the field. The girl in the yellow hoodie points out that Jin Yong is actually doing a great job out there. From this distance, the game looks intense, and our boy is right in the middle of the action. The girls are both caught off guard as they witness another display of incredible soccer skill from the boy they once ignored. Even the girl with the lollipop cannot help but stare with a look of genuine surprise on her face. A whole row of fangirls on the bleachers starts cheering and calling him cool. They are basically falling over themselves, while Jin Yong just focuses on the game, totally unaware of his new fans. The girl with the long black hair and the lollipop just stares at him with a slight blush on her cheeks. She is seeing a side of Jin Yong that she never knew existed, and she cannot look away. They continue their walk and mention that even though he is popular now, he does not seem to care about girls at all. This lack of interest only seems to make him more attractive to everyone watching. The girl in the yellow hoodie rolls her eyes and calls the other fangirls cringe for being so obsessive. She tries to act like she is above it all, but she is clearly keeping a close watch too. She turns back to her quiet friend and asks for her opinion on the whole situation. She is trying to gauge if she is the only one who thinks this sudden transformation is a big deal. The girl with the lollipop just hums to herself and keeps her eyes fixed on the field. She is clearly intrigued by the mystery of Park Jin Yong, and she is not going to let him out of her sight. Jin Yong is practically vibrating from the stress of the current situation, as he looks completely overwhelmed by the social pressure. He desperately tries to keep his composure while his anxiety threatens to boil over right in front of everyone. His nerves are shot as he tries to handle the sudden popularity without losing his mind in public. He holds onto his snack with trembling hands while he realizes that being the center of attention is much more stressful than he ever imagined. Walking alongside the girl with the lollipop, he seems to be struggling to maintain his composure while she stays calm. She notices his distress, but doesn't seem to think it is a big deal at all. The girl with the lollipop stands confidently while watching the boy struggle with all the attention he is receiving. She looks completely unbothered by the intense atmosphere and seems to be enjoying the chaotic scene unfolding right in front of her. The school bell rings out across the campus, signaling the end of their sports activity for the day. Music notes drift through the air as the students start heading back to their classrooms. Our boy is surrounded by his teammates who are all hyped up after their big win on the field today. They are cheering him on for his performance, but he still looks a bit dazed by it all. He heads over to the outdoor sinks to cool down after such an intense match against the other class. He reaches out to turn on the tap and let the cold water flow. Taking a moment to breathe, Jin Yong splashes some cold water on his face to wash away the sweat. The schoolyard is quiet for a moment while he tries to collect his thoughts. Without his glasses, he looks like a completely different person and carries a natural intensity that would make anyone think twice before messing with him. The opposing keeper walks up to him, admitting that he never thought someone would actually score against him today. The big guy looks genuinely impressed by our boy's skills on the field. Jin Yong keeps it humble, telling the big guy that he put up a great defense as the goalie. He is trying to be a good sport, even if things are still awkward between them. The keeper stops in his tracks, looking absolutely baffled by the sudden compliment from his rival. He was expecting a fight or some trash talk, not genuine praise for his keeping. He tries to start something more, but our boy just brushes him off and says he has better things to do. He is not interested in whatever drama this guy is trying to stir up. This level of indifference clearly hits the big guy right where it hurts, leaving him speechless in the middle of the yard. He cannot believe he is being ignored like this after the game. He grumbles that this arrogant attitude is exactly why he cannot stand being around Jin Yong. He thinks our boy is just acting tough, but the truth is much more complicated. The tension is rising as the keeper stares him down, clearly not finished with this conversation yet. His eyes are full of frustration as he tries to figure out what makes this kid tick. The goalie suddenly starts imagining himself as a legendary warrior from the past, who is ready to strike down his enemies with a massive axe. But instead of a legendary battle, a hand reaches into the water and gets ready for some childish payback. The reality of the situation is much less dramatic than his imagination. Out of nowhere, Jin Yong gets blasted with a handful of water right in the middle of his face. The big guy has finally decided to take action, and it's definitely not what anyone expected. He is caught completely off guard by the freezing spray and shouts out in pure shock. That water must be ice cold because our boy looks like he just got hit by a blizzard. This quickly turns into an all-out water war as our boy fires back, calling the goalie a total pig. They are both getting soaked now, completely ignoring the fact that they are at school. The two of them are acting like little kids, splashing water everywhere while hurling insults at each other. The big guy yells for him to stop resisting while continuing his watery assault. Over on the track, the girl with the lollipop and her friend hear the commotion and stop to watch. They can hear the shouting from all the way across the field and look confused. They are curious about all the yelling, especially since it sounds like their classmates are losing their minds over something. The lollipop girl looks like she might be finding this whole thing funny. Thinking it might be something entertaining, they decide to head over and see what the weird guys are up to now. They walk along the track, heading straight for the scene of the crime. Both of them are now drenched from head to toe, looking like they just crawled out of a swimming pool. They are both panting from the effort of their ridiculous water fight. Jin Yong is fuming, pointing his finger and blaming the big guy for starting this mess in the first place. He is soaked and annoyed, and he is not going to let it slide easily. The goalie just shrugs it off, starts peeling off his wet shirt, and tells him to just wring it out. He acts like it's perfectly normal to strip down in the middle of the schoolyard. Not wanting to be outdone, our boy decides to do the same and starts pulling his own soaked shirt over his head. He is just trying to get dry, but he doesn't realize who is watching. Just as the shirts come off, the two girls walk right into the scene and remind them that the warning bell rang. They are standing right there, watching the boys strip down. He stands there completely paralyzed, once he realizes the girls caught him in the middle of stripping down right in the schoolyard. He stands there with his incredibly defined muscles on full display, while he wipes away the sweat from the intense match he just finished. Both of the girls are left completely breathless and find it impossible to look away, while their faces turn bright red from the embarrassment. It is a total system overload for them, and they cannot seem to look away from his sudden transformation. The silent tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. Meanwhile, the big goalie guy just stands there shirtless too, looking completely different from Jin Yong. He seems to finally realize that he has lost this battle in more ways than one. They are both totally flustered by the awkward situation and struggle to maintain their composure after witnessing such an unexpected sight. A big guy in track pants causes a scene on the field and demands to know what was said. Our boy tries to keep the peace by offering a sincere apology to Sunwoo, while the bully looks ready to explode. The dude with the glasses is clearly not having it, as he stares down the opposition with pure intensity. Behind him, our protagonist Park Jin Yong stands there totally shirtless and looking completely overwhelmed by the tension. Jin Yong looks like his brain just short-circuited from the sheer shock of the situation. He is standing there without a shirt on while everyone watches this disaster unfold in real time at the school gym. Suddenly things get physical as the big guy grabs our boy in a massive chokehold that looks incredibly painful. Jin Yong struggles for air while this absolute unit of a man exerts his dominance over the field. The girls watching on the sidelines are absolutely stunned by what they are seeing right now. Sunwoo stands there with her friend, and they cannot believe the drama happening in front of their eyes. Sunwoo processes the scene with a very specific look on her face. She blushes a little bit while staring at our boy, who is currently in a very compromising position. After that chaotic show down the quiet school building, where everything seems peaceful on the outside. But inside those walls, the social hierarchy is shifting in ways nobody expected for the semester. Back on the field, Jin Yong puts in some work and shows off his skills with a soccer ball. He takes a massive kick and sends the ball flying through the air with serious power behind it. But the big guy with the glasses is right there to catch it with ease, using his stomach as a cushion. This dude is like a brick wall, and nothing is getting past him today despite our boy's best efforts. Jin Young looks pretty exhausted and sweaty after that failed attempt to break through the defense. He feels frustrated because he is hitting a wall no matter how hard he tries to improve. This big guy in a black t-shirt catches the ball and lets out a sly laugh while watching the game unfold. He seems genuinely surprised by what he saw and calls the display of skill pretty impressive. Even with a compliment, this dude still maintains a very intimidating presence that would make anyone nervous. He clenches his teeth and looks like he is judging every move Jin Young makes during practice. Our boy just sighs and curses because he knows he is still far away from where he wants to be. His friends stand behind him looking just as confused about how to handle this situation with the soccer team. Meanwhile, the mustache man sits down and thinks deeply about the current events. He mentions his friend and analyzes the dynamics of the relationships playing out between the students. Jin Young decides to walk away from the group and heads toward the stairs to get some space. He feels dejected after the intense soccer practice and needs a moment to himself. He finds a spot to sit down on the concrete steps and tries to catch his breath for a moment. Our boy processes everything that happened on the field while he waits for his heart rate to slow down. Sitting there all alone, he looks like the weight of the world is on his shoulders. Other students are walking around in the background, but he is totally lost in his own head and staring at the ground. Out of nowhere, the beautiful Sunwoo approaches him with a bright smile and says hi to him by name. She looks absolutely stunning in her school uniform, and her sudden appearance completely catches him off guard. Jin Young looks up with his eyes wide behind his glasses as he realizes who is talking to him. He is totally flustered and does not know how to react to such a pretty girl coming over to chat with him. His face turns a bright shade of pink, and he looks like he is about to malfunction right then and there. This is peak high school romance energy, and our boy clearly feels the pressure of her presence. He quickly turns his head away because he cannot handle looking her in the eye right now. Sunwoo is genuinely confused by his reaction and asks him why he is acting so strange all of a sudden on the steps. Jin Young completely loses his composure and starts blushing like crazy while trying to hide his face behind his hand. He can barely handle the tension and looks away because he is feeling incredibly embarrassed. Sunwoo stands directly over him, which makes him extremely uncomfortable as he sits on the steps. From this low angle, he gets a view that is way too much for his innocent heart to handle. Our boy panics and practically jumps back on the stairs because he realizes the view he is getting is too suggestive. He starts stuttering and tries to explain that it is not what it looks like, but he is failing. Sunwoo finally realizes what is happening and looks down with a surprised expression. She realizes that people can see things from below, and the realization finally hits her that she was being careless. Instead of getting angry, she actually starts to giggle and finds the whole situation pretty funny. She has a mischievous look in her eyes as she prepares to tease him even more about his flustered reaction. She actually squats down to his level and tells him that he looks pretty even from below. This girl is a total pro at teasing, and she has our boy completely wrapped around her finger with just a few choice words. Jin Young is absolutely stunned by what she just said, and he cannot even form a coherent sentence. He stares at her like she is some kind of alien creature that just dropped from the sky to haunt him. Sunwoo just smiles at him with a soft and playful look that would make any guy melt on the spot. She is clearly enjoying how much power she has over him, and she is not planning to let him off easy tonight. Our boy is freaking out internally and wondering if he just walked right into a trap. He panics because he does not know if she is being serious or if she is just playing with his feelings. The mustache man from before appears again and confirms that Jin Young just walked right into the trap Sunwoo set for him. It turns out that everything was calculated, and our boy was played like a fiddle by the girl he likes. This dude is looking very smug as he watches the plan succeed perfectly without any hitches at all. He knew exactly how Jin Young would react, and everything is going according to the design of this social experiment at school. He zooms in closer with this intense look of satisfaction as he watches the drama continue to unfold. For him, this is all just a big game of social chess, and he just made a winning move through Sunwoo. Jin Young sits there with his head in his hands and feels like a total idiot for what he said. He realizes that his loose mouth just made things incredibly weird between them, and he cannot take back the words. She leans her face on her hand and looks toward him with a very pleased expression on her face. It is clear that she is very happy with how things turned out, and she has no regrets at all about her teasing today. The girl with long black hair leans her face on her hand and stares at him with a mischievous smirk. She is clearly enjoying how much she is making him sweat with her intense and focused attention. Meanwhile, Jin Young is basically short-circuiting. He is looking away, sweating, and trying his best to hold it together while she is right there in his personal space being a total menace. These two are sitting on the school steps, and the contrast is hilarious. She is as relaxed as can be while our boy looks like he is about to jump out of his skin. She laughs and tells him that compliments always feel good to hear. Jin Young can only offer a weak agreement, clearly outmatched in this game of social chess they are playing today. She gives him this innocent look and asks what he means. Man, the acting skills on this girl are top tier. She is playing him like a fiddle and enjoying every single second. Jin Young is done. He waves his hands frantically, insisting that he is not like that at all. He is trying so hard to defend his honor, but it just makes him look flustered. He tries to regain some composure, but the damage is done. She just watches him with that amused expression, knowing she has already won this round of teasing his poor heart. Our boy is staring at her, his brain probably running 1,000 miles a minute. He cannot figure out if she is being serious or if he is just getting trolled into oblivion. He asks her which part she is talking about. He is falling right back into the trap, curiosity getting the better of him despite the obvious danger to his resting heart rate. She starts to answer with a mischievous little well, leaving the rest hanging in the air. The suspense is killing him, and honestly it is killing all of us watching this too. Suddenly, she is thinking back to a very different side of him. She remembers seeing him without a shirt, showing off a physique that definitely does not match his dorky glasses and track jacket. This memory is clearly doing something to her. She covers her mouth and looks away, her face turning a bright shade of red as she tries to push those spicy thoughts out. She leans in closer, almost whispering into his ear. The physical distance between them has vanished, and you can practically feel the heat coming off our protagonist right now as he freezes. Jin Young is frozen solid. He is staring straight ahead, eyes wide, wondering if he is supposed to move or just accept his fate as a permanent statue on these school stairs today. She gives him a sidelong glance, her eyes sparkling with something more than just mischief. It seems like the teasing might be covering up some very real feelings on her end too. Their little moment on the stairs gets interrupted when a teammate in a blue jacket runs over to rally the team. Jin Young has to snap back to reality and focus on the second half of the match instead of his crush. Jin Young looks back, blinking as he is pulled back to reality. It is like he just woke up from a dream and now he has to go play soccer with his friends. Sunwoo waves him off with a bright smile, looking like the picture-perfect supportive friend. She is back to her cheerful self, but we know what she was just thinking about earlier. The sun is high over the city as the school day continues. Tall apartment buildings stand watch over the campus, where the real drama is unfolding on the field below them. Jin Young returns to the game and tries to focus despite the distractions, as his teammates yell for the match to finally get underway. He glances over his shoulder, perhaps looking to see if a certain someone is watching from the sidelines. Even in the middle of a game, he cannot completely forget the girl upstairs. The ball is in play. Action is fast and frantic as players scramble across the green turf, their shoes kicking up a storm while they fight for possession of the soccer ball. Someone yells to block him as Jin Young maneuvers through the defense. He is moving with a speed that surprises everyone, proving that there is way more to him than his nerdy looks. Up in the stands, a buff teacher with a legendary mustache watches the game with a critical eye. He crosses his arms, looking completely unimpressed by the display of skill so far. The mustache man lets out a hum of acknowledgement. It is hard to tell if he is actually pleased or if he is just waiting for someone to mess up the play. He seems to be focusing on the physical condition of the players. This guy is a total unit himself, so his standards for what makes a good athlete are likely sky high. Sunwoo is still sitting on the stairs, watching the game from a distance. She looks peaceful, enjoying the breeze and the sight of our boy giving it his all out there today. Back to the coach, who is now stroking his chin thoughtfully. He is starting to see something in Jin Yong that he did not expect, making him reconsider his initial harsh judgment. The veteran coach strokes his chin with a growing sense of curiosity, as he begins to wonder just how much talent this kid is actually hiding. Boom, the ball flies into the back of the net with incredible force. It is a perfect shot that leaves the goalkeeper with absolutely zero chance of making a save here. A desperate dive from the opposing goalkeeper isn't enough to stop the momentum of the ball as it screams into the corner of the goal. The crowd goes wild. His teammates swarm him, shouting that it is their boy Jin Yong who saved the day. He looks a bit overwhelmed by all the sudden attention and praise. He finally lets out a big, genuine smile. Sweat is pouring down his face, but he looks genuinely happy to have contributed to the team, forgetting his embarrassment for a moment. Sunwoo watches the celebration and mumbles to herself that she will never forgive him. She is talking to a friend named Jumin, but her expression tells a completely different story. She is beaming with pride, her face flushed, and a mischievous glint in her eyes. It is clear that she is even more interested in our protagonist now than ever before. Sunlight bathed the quiet school buildings as the morning sky cleared up. It seemed like just another typical day on campus, but things were about to get way more complicated for Park Jin-young. A mysterious woman in a professional suit watches the students from a distance, focusing her attention on the boy who just stole the spotlight. The day starts off looking peaceful enough outside this massive apartment complex in the city. Everything seems normal as the morning sun hits the buildings and the clouds drift by in the sky. Our boy Park Jin-young is headed out for the day, looking like your average student in his school uniform. He grabs his bag and prepares to face whatever the morning has in store for him. He stops in his tracks when he hears some serious shouting coming from down the hall. Our protagonist wonders what on earth could be causing such a commotion so early in the morning. It turns out his parents are having a full-blown argument right over the breakfast table. Mom is standing up and looking pretty heated while Dad just sits there trying to endure the lecture. His mom is clearly fed up with the situation, and Dad looks like he has heard this speech 1,000 times before. The atmosphere in the kitchen is thick enough to cut with a knife. Mom finally spots him and asks if he's heading off to school already, making sure to check if he ate. Jin-young is just trying to navigate through the crossfire without getting hit himself. He tries to play it cool and says he had a quick snack, but Mom is not having it today. She tells him that whatever he grabbed is definitely not a real meal for a growing boy. Our boy gets this awkward look on his face and starts to stutter a bit as he tries to explain. He is clearly ready to get out of the house and away from this domestic drama. Dad just focuses on his soup and keeps his head down, probably wishing he could disappear into the bowl. He is definitely not looking to join the conversation and risk more of Mom's wrath. Suddenly we get a glimpse of this absolute unit of a man with a mustache eating a fancy steak dinner. This guy is apparently Jason, and he seems to be living a much more luxurious life somewhere else. Back at the apartment, Mom pulls out 2 tickets for a play and asks if he wants to go this weekend. She is trying to be nice despite the earlier yelling, offering him a chance to relax. She hands them over and tells him he should take a friend along to watch it with him. Jin-young reaches out to take them, looking a bit surprised by the sudden gift from his mother. Dad lets out a heavy sigh and mutters about how he thought they would finally go out together after such a long time. He looks genuinely disappointed that he is being left out of the plans. Jin-young stares at the 2 tickets in his hand, feeling the weight of the social pressure starting to build. He has to figure out who he would even invite to a play on such short notice. A bead of sweat rolls down his face as his internal monologue starts racing a mile a minute. Our boy is clearly dealing with more than just school stress, and those glasses are hiding a lot of worry. At school, a guy with long hair greets him with a smile that feels just a little too wide to be genuine. This dude looks like he has some kind of ulterior motive for being so friendly. A massive guy in a tight black shirt marches through the school halls with his loyal followers trailing right behind him. This other kid with glasses looks completely overwhelmed by everything happening around him. He seems like the type who is just trying to fly under the radar and survive until the final bell rings. Our boy is definitely feeling the heat, looking more nervous than someone just going to class should. He has a secret he is trying to keep, and the pressure is starting to show on his face. He ends up talking to a chubby classmate who seems pretty puzzled by whatever Jin Yong is saying. The guy is just trying to be a friend, but our boy is on a completely different wavelength. The guy just stares back with a confused expression, totally failing to see what our protagonist is seeing. It is becoming clear that Jin Yong is interacting with things that nobody else can perceive. They eventually part ways in the courtyard, leaving Jin Yong alone to deal with his invisible burden. He walks along the path, still lost in a conversation that looks like madness to the other students. He stands there deep in thought with his hand on his chin, trying to figure out his next move. He is so focused that he has no idea someone is watching him from the shadows. Jason reveals himself as a tiny, muscular spirit who hitches a ride directly on the boy's shoulder at all times. A woman in professional attire walks by in the background while Jin Yong continues his secret chat. He is trying to be discreet, but it is hard when your companion is a tiny man with a mustache. Our boy lets out a laugh and smiles, looking like a total lunatic to any normal person passing by. He is enjoying the banter with Jason, forgetting for a moment that he is in public. Jason looks back at him with a serious expression, probably giving him some unsolicited advice or commentary. Even though he is tiny, this spirit guy has a personality that is larger than life. Jin Yong suddenly freezes up and gets the chills when he senses a presence standing right behind him. The playful mood evaporates instantly as he realizes he might have been caught in the act. He tries to stutter out an apology to Jason, but he realizes too late that a real person is standing there. A woman with long, dark hair is looking at him with an extremely suspicious gaze. It is his teacher, and she looks like she has been standing there watching him talk to thin air for a while. She has a clipboard in her hand and a very disappointed look on her face. Our boy slowly turns his head around, his heart pounding against his ribs as he faces the music. He is praying that she didn't hear any of the weird stuff he was saying to his shoulder. The teacher is none other than Miss Hangeol, and she is standing there with her arms crossed and a stern look. She demands to know if he is even going to greet his teacher properly today. Jin Yong stammers out an apology, desperately trying to claim that he simply did not see her there. He is sweating bullets while Miss Hangeol just stares him down with those sharp eyes. The teacher doesn't believe a word he says, since she caught him having a full conversation with thin air earlier. Our protagonist is left in a total state of shock, wondering how on earth she could have known what he was doing. He is sweating and wide-eyed, realizing his secret might be in serious jeopardy. Jin Yong and Miss Hangeol sit in heavy silence on the park bench. Our boy is clearly out of his element here as they avoid looking at each other. They look like an odd pair with her in her professional gear, and him just trying to keep his cool. The tension between them is thick enough to cut with a knife. Jin Yong is completely blindsided and shouts in shock when his teacher casually mentions something he thought was a secret. Jin Yong is sweating bullets now as he frantically asks how on earth she knew about Sunwoo. His big secret is finally out, and his heart is absolutely racing. She starts acting all cute and playful while making these little claw gestures like she is some kind of predator. It is a total power move meant to tease him. Miss Hangeol leans in close with her eyes filled with mischief as she watches him squirm. She definitely enjoys having the upper hand in this conversation, and she knows it. Jin Yong sits on the park bench completely frozen as he tries to catch his breath after that high-pressure interaction. He needs a moment to settle his nerves and figure out what he should do next. He lets out a soft hum while trying to process everything that just happened. His brain is basically running at maximum capacity right now, just trying to keep up. The girl with the glasses can't help but blush once she realizes the true weight of the proposal that was just made. Our boy is sitting right there next to her, feeling the intense awkwardness of the silence. The realization hits Jin Yong like a freight train, and he looks down because he is unable to meet her gaze. He is totally embarrassed by the whole situation. She stands up and starts walking away while tossing a parting shot over her shoulder, calling him cowardly brat. Man, she is being absolutely savage to him today. Miss Hangeol stands tall and confident as she glances back with a playful smirk that proves she knows exactly how much she is messing with his head. She radiates an aura of total control over the situation. Jin Yong can only watch her go as his mind spins from the intense interaction. He is left wondering what just happened to his life in the span of 5 minutes. Suddenly, 2 other girls approach, and Miss Hanjol tells him to go hear what the other guy has to say. Talk about a hectic afternoon for our protagonist. Our boy is totally flustered, and his face turns bright red as he wonders what could possibly be coming next. This day just keeps getting weirder by the second. The girl with the glasses is caught off guard as she hears the savage comments her friends are making. She tries to keep it together even though the conversation has taken a very blunt turn. The girls start laughing together and teasing someone for being a total coward. It is pretty clear they are talking about our poor protagonist right to his face. Miss Hanjol waves goodbye as she heads off and leaves Jin Yong with the other 2 girls. The dynamic of the group is shifting fast, and he is lost. The girl with the long black hair gives a cheery wave while looking much friendlier than the sharp-tongued Miss Hanjol. Maybe things are looking up for him. The girl with the long dark hair leans in with a smile so bright it could light up the entire city. Her genuine kindness is a complete reversal from the sharp attitude he just dealt with. Jin Yong is frozen in place with his eyes wide as he takes in her beauty. He is definitely feeling some type of way after that dazzling smile she gave him. She leans down right in front of him and gets deep into his personal space while he just sits there like a statue. The romantic tension is through the roof. Jin Yong later on now wearing a blue shirt and white pants while standing alone in the middle of a busy street. He looks like a different person. Our boy is sporting a fresh new look in a blue button-down, but the real highlight is the miniature muscular dude perched on his shoulder like a tiny gym bro guardian angel. He stands ready for anything. Jin Yong looks a bit concerned while thinking back to his conversation with Miss Hanjol. Having a tiny coach on your shoulder is definitely not a normal thing to experience. The tiny muscular man tells him he looks hot today. Jin Yong explains it is his first time wearing contacts, and they are feeling super uncomfortable on his eyes. Our boy looks straight ahead, and his eyes look a bit strained from the new lenses. He is trying so hard to look cool for the world. He lets out a heavy sigh while feeling the weight of the tiny man on his shoulder and the pressure of the situation. This is a lot to handle. The tiny, muscular guy crosses his arms and looks like a miniature version of a hardcore gym coach. He is not here to play games with anyone. This tiny coach doesn't plan on going anywhere, and he remains firmly planted on our protagonist's shirt, while the tension continues to rise between them. This duo is honestly hilarious to watch. The coach looks him dead in the eye, and his expression is stern and focused. He is clearly preparing our boy for something big that is coming. His massive muscles ripple even in his tiny form as he tells Jin Yong that he needs to make a decision right now. No more stalling allowed today. Jin Yong feels the pressure mounting as a cold sweat breaks out across his face during this high-stakes confrontation. He knows that one wrong word could ruin everything he has been working toward. He stands there in his crisp blue shirt with his heart hammering against his ribs. It is finally time to step up or step back for good. The coach glares intensely while waiting for an answer that he clearly expects to hear immediately. He is definitely not the type of person you want to keep waiting when he is this serious. The coach stares him down with that massive mustache of his and lays out the stakes. He is not playing around anymore and wants our boy to listen closely. Jin Yong stands there like he just saw a ghost. His heart is doing marathons right now because the pressure of this conversation is actually becoming pretty suffocating for him. He looks sharp in his crisp blue shirt and white pants, but inside he is a total mess. This is the moment where everything finally changes for our protagonist. His head drops as the weight of the situation finally sinks in. He knows he cannot just run away from this conversation or his true feelings anymore. Our protagonist remains silent as he stares at the floor while trying to find the courage to speak up for himself. The tension is basically suffocating him as he struggles to respond. A cold sweat starts to bead on his forehead as the anxiety kicks into high gear. He is clearly struggling to find the right words to answer the coach. Our protagonist starts to spiral because he realizes that messing this up means losing his chance with her forever. He can feel the clock ticking as he searches for the right way out. The coach brings up the idea of a stone, which is a weird analogy for how Jin Yong has been shutting people out emotionally this whole time. That mustache guy is not letting him off the hook easily. He warns Jin Yong that if he keeps treating people like objects, he is going to end up alone. Jin Young is caught off guard by the harsh truth. He is told that if he dares to view Sunwoo as just another stone again, there will be consequences. Sunwoo arrives on the scene looking absolutely stunning as she gathers her courage for the big encounter. She stands tall with an energetic and bright expression that shows she is ready to give this meeting her all. She strides across the street with confidence and her black skirt fluttering in the breeze. She is a total contrast to the nervous energy our boy is putting out. Jin Young literally freezes, and his face turns a bright shade of red. He cannot even believe how beautiful she looks in this moment. His brain just short-circuited. The coach watches the interaction from the sidelines while breaking out into a nervous sweat from the pressure. He is incredibly anxious to see if his student actually remembered any of the intense advice he gave him. He crosses his massive arms over his chest and waits for the drama to unfold. This guy is acting like the ultimate relationship mentor, even if he looks tough. Sunwoo greets him with a warm and precious smile as a soft blush begins to spread across her cheeks. She is clearly overjoyed to see him standing there and waiting for her in the middle of the city. They finally stand face to face in the middle of the city as the rest of the world just fades away. The atmosphere is finally shifting from pure panic to something much more romantic as they share this quiet moment together. Rejection is a common part of life that Park Jin-young learned about early on by handing people the power to break his heart. He remembers how even a simple crush back in school could feel like the absolute end of the world for a young girl. Little Jin-young had no idea how complicated things were going to get once his emotions started getting involved with other people. He explains his logic. Once those feelings start to develop, you naturally want to get closer to the other person. But that desire is exactly what leads to pain if things go south. To protect himself, Jin-young developed a wild defense mechanism by training his brain to see girls as literal lumps of stone. A hand reaches out into a gray, empty void. It is a memory of trying to reach for someone who just was not there, leaving him grasping at nothing but cold air. This is where the trauma started. A young Jin-young reaches out for his father, but the man just keeps walking away without even a glance back. That kind of abandonment leaves a mark. Fast forward to the present day in a bright, modern city. The sun is shining, but our boy is still carrying those old mental walls with him as he heads to meet someone. He is sitting at a cafe with Sunwoo, who is looking absolutely stunning. She teases him for drinking espresso, asking why he is trying to act so grown up all of a sudden. Jin-young looks like he is about to short-circuit. He is holding that tiny cup with a nervous grip, trying to look cool while his internal monologue is screaming for help. Sunwoo mentions she has never actually seen a play before and she is super excited about it. She is being incredibly sweet, while our boy is just stuck in his own head. He forces a laugh and takes a sip of his bitter coffee. You can tell he is struggling to stay present when his brain is hardwired to push people away. He zones out completely while lost in his own thoughts, even though the girl of his dreams is sitting right across from him. He sits there in silence, looking down at his cup. The distance between them feels like a canyon, even though they are only a few feet apart at the table. His mind drifts back to his school days. He reminds himself how hard he worked to view every girl as a featureless lump of stone, just to keep his own heart safe from harm. Sunwoo keeps the conversation going, completely unaware of the mental war Jin-young is fighting. She is just happy to be there, showing off that bright, cheerful energy. Sunwoo notices his strange behavior and gives him a curious look that makes him feel incredibly awkward while he holds his coffee. The poor girl is genuinely trying to connect with him. She can sense the wall he has built up, and you can see the slight concern starting to show in her eyes. She apologizes, maybe thinking she was being too forward. Then she asks the real question. Why would anyone choose bitter coffee over a delicious, sweet choco latte? Jin-young is completely caught off guard when she asks why he was so nervous earlier, and starts sweating bullets while panicking for an answer. Sunwoo spent a massive amount of time in front of her mirror earlier that day making sure she looked her absolute best for him. She even carefully picked out her outfit and checked every detail. It is clear that this meeting meant a lot to her, which makes Jin-young's behavior even more painful to watch. Back in the present, the guilt finally hits him like a truck. He realizes he is being incredibly rude by letting his past baggage distract him from the person right in front of him. Sunwoo leans on her hand, looking at him with those big, expressive eyes. She is giving him every chance to open up and just enjoy the moment together. Jin Yong's chibai form appears as he realizes he was being a total idiot. He admits to himself that being so distracted with his own thoughts, while Sunwoo was right, there was a major mistake. Sunwoo stands up, ready to head out to the next part of their date. Our boy is still a bit slow on the uptake, offering a quiet thanks as he tries to catch up. He pushes himself up from the bench, finally deciding to snap out of his funk. It is time to stop thinking about stones and start thinking about the girl standing next to him. He tells himself he will make a final decision about his defense mechanism later. For now, he just needs to focus on making sure Sunwoo has a good time. They arrive at the theater, and the play begins. It looks like a high-budget period piece set in a European town square with actors in fancy historical costumes. The lead actress is going full melodrama, reaching out with a desperate expression. She is really putting her heart into this performance for the audience. Then the male lead shows up, looking absolutely livid. He is sporting classic powdered wig and a very expensive-looking coat, shouting his lines at the top of his lungs. He points an accusing finger at the girl, really leaning into the drama. The actors are doing their best, but the vibe in the audience is a bit different. Sunwoo is literally snoring in her seat, while Jin Yong looks like he is dying of boredom. So much for that highbrow theater experience they were both expecting. After the boring play, they head over to the arcade, where Sunwoo spots a cute plushie. She really wants him to win for her. It is a total disaster. He has already blown 20,000 won, and the claw keeps dropping the prize. Sunwoo is laughing her head off, and honestly, this is the most fun they have had all day. Jin Yong gives it his all at karaoke, but Sunwoo thinks his singing is actually hilarious and completely terrible as she laughs at him. They grab some food, and Sunwoo is being a total sweetheart by cutting up his steak, while he watches her in silent appreciation. During a late-night stroll through the city, Jin Yong starts to feel a bit jealous after hearing how close Sunwoo is with Sukyoung. Sunwoo is all smiles and blushes as she talks, because she is clearly enjoying the wonderful vibe of their night out together. They keep walking down the quiet sidewalk as they get closer to her place for the final part of their lovely evening out. The story moves to a quiet apartment complex where the evening air is finally starting to cool down. Jin Yong stops by the playground and tries to act like their previous conversation was totally insignificant. Sunwoo waves goodbye with a radiant expression, clearly thrilled with how the night turned out. Her expression suddenly shifts into a serious gaze as she realizes something important about his behavior. Our protagonist completely panics when she calls him out for being so hesitant during their goodbye. He starts stammering and sweating, unable to maintain his cool facade under her direct questioning. A heavy silence falls between the two as the weight of the moment starts to settle in. Sunwoo stands there with perfect grace, patiently waiting for him to find the courage to speak up. She calls out his name with genuine curiosity, wanting to know what is actually going on in his head. Jin Yong awkwardly scratches his head and tries to laugh off the tension, while he dies a little inside. She playfully bumps into him to lighten the mood and show him that she is not actually upset. With a quick shout that she is really leaving this time, she turns and runs toward the building. He stands there completely frozen, watching her disappear into the night while his brain tries to reboot. He eventually looks away and starts to reflect on the strange turn their interaction just took. The young man begins his walk home, feeling the heavy burden of his own complicated emotions. He realizes that teacher Hangyul was the one who set this entire meeting up from the very start. A bead of sweat rolls down his face as he wonders if any of her feelings were actually genuine. He imagines his teacher laughing while plotting this whole scheme behind his back like a puppet master. His mind flashes back 5 years to a time when he felt this exact same sense of betrayal. He clenches his fist in anger, hating himself for being so easily manipulated by the people around him. Jin Yong decides that he needs to put up a wall and stop himself from getting any closer to her. He looks off into the distance with a cold resolve, ready to walk away from these feelings forever. Just as he is about to leave, something causes him to stop and look back one more time. He is shocked to see that Sunwoo is still standing in the distance, refusing to move until he is safely out of sight. The sight of her looking so beautiful under the stars completely shatters the emotional wall he just built. Jin Yong is left mesmerized, realizing that his doubts were nothing compared to the reality of her presence. He suddenly remembers a conversation he had with a man who had a very impressive mustache. The man tells him that a person is defined by the choices they make when things get difficult. He gives a small smile, encouraging the boy to stop running away and finally embrace his true desires. Jin Yong hardens his resolve and prepares to face his feelings head-on instead of hiding from them. His mentor refuses to let him off the hook, staring him down with an intense and judgmental gaze. He starts listing all the ways our boy has been playing it safe. It is time for some hard truths that Jin Yong probably does not want to hear right now. He brings up the awkward dinner and how the boy was too terrified to even ask for a second date. This dude is not holding back at all. He is digging deep into Jin Yong's insecurities and laying them all out on the table for him to see. The mentor calls him out for trying to dehumanize the situation by treating Sunwoo like she is just a stone. Talk about a massive wake-up call for our protagonist. The mentor radiates a powerful aura as he pushes the boy to finally take some action. He is waiting to see if his words actually land, or if Jin Yong is just going to keep running away like he always does when things get real. It is like he is asking what he is even doing with his life. You have the girl right there, and you are acting like a total coward instead of a man. He carefully observes the boy to see if that tiny spark of resolve will finally catch fire. He can barely believe it when he finally sees change in the air. This might actually be the moment where everything finally turns around for our boy. Jin Yong looks up at her with an expression full of vulnerability and nervous energy as he realizes he can no longer hide. He is finally done making excuses for himself and is ready to face the consequences of his feelings. Without a second thought, our boy reaches out and grabs her hands. This is the big move we have all been waiting for since the very beginning. The two of them stand together under the city lights as Jin Yong finally decides to stop running away from his problems. He holds onto her hands tightly to show her that he is finally taking charge of this relationship. Sunwoo is completely caught off guard, and her brain just goes blank for a second. She definitely did not expect this sudden burst of confidence from him. Jin Yong is still feeling the nerves, but he is not backing down this time. He is looking her right in the eyes and getting ready to speak his truth. He starts by offering an apology for being so distant and difficult lately. Our boy is finally taking responsibility for his actions and trying to make things right. She is staring at him with a blush that could melt ice, and she looks like she is about to cry from pure shock. The air between them is electric, and then it happens. She lets out this beautiful smile that shows she is not just okay with this, but she has been waiting for it forever. They are standing in the middle of the park, and the vibes are finally right. It looks like our boy finally secured the win and moved past his inner demons. Park Jin Yong and a girl named Sunwoo stood together in the quiet night air. The silence between them was heavy, as if both were waiting for the right moment to speak. Their hands were locked together in a tight and firm grip. Neither of them seemed ready to let go of the other just yet. Our boy was clearly feeling the pressure as a visible blush crept up his face. He looked like he was about to short-circuit from the sudden intimacy. He suddenly pulled back and started apologizing frantically for his awkward behavior. Sunwoo just laughed it off and told him that he had nothing to worry about. She gave him a sweet smile and promised that she would be looking forward to their next meeting. It was the kind of promise that would keep a guy like Jin Yong up all night. With a final wave, she turned around and started heading back home. Jin Yong just stood there like a statue while watching her slowly fade into the distance. He clutched his chest as if his heart was trying to beat its way out of his ribs. He was completely smitten, and he did not even try to hide his excitement. However, as soon as Sunwoo was out of his sight, her expression shifted into something much more cold. The warmth from before vanished from her face instantly. Even after all the chaos, the sight of a bandaged hand reminds us just how much everyone is putting on the line. It's a small but powerful detail that shows the physical toll these secret encounters are starting to take. A mysterious smile plays on her lips as if everything is going according to plan. She clearly knows something our boy doesn't, and is savoring every second of this game while imagining exactly how she is going to wrap him around her finger. The next morning arrived with a bright sun hanging over the quiet local apartment complex. It was a peaceful scene that did not hint at the chaos that was about to unfold in the park nearby. Park Jin-young was already out and about, pushing his body to its absolute limit. He was breathing so hard that his round glasses were starting to fog up. He struggles through his pull-ups while every muscle in his body begins to scream in protest. He is absolutely determined to finish this entire set, even if it kills him, or he passes out from the sheer exhaustion of trying way too hard. In his mind, a massive buff guy with a thick mustache was watching his every move. He used this mental image of a drill sergeant to keep himself motivated through the fatigue. He remembers the promise he made to Sunwoo and uses it as fuel to push through the exhaustion. He wants to be a better man before they meet again so he can finally feel worthy of her and not just some awkward loser. The imaginary muscle man just sat there with a stern and disappointed look on his face. It was clear that he expected much more effort than what Jin-young was currently giving. Our boy narrowed his eyes and focused all his energy on the metal bar. He was determined to finish his workout no matter how much his aching muscles screamed in protest. He finally collapsed from exhaustion, gasping for air while trying to count his completed sets. A girl in a bright pink hoodie suddenly appeared and started watching him. Jin-young nearly jumped out of his skin when he realized that he was not alone anymore. His brain was way too tired to process a new person appearing out of nowhere. Suk-young leans in close to inspect his sweaty face without a hint of hesitation. It is a super awkward moment for our boy who clearly wasn't expecting an audience this early while he's struggling to catch his breath on the pavement. He scrambled to his feet while making a series of panicked and high-pitched noises. This guy really needs to work on his composure around women if he wants to survive. She introduces herself as Suk-young while rocking some bright pink bunny pajamas like she is walking on a fashion runway. She stands there with a playful vibe that completely catches him off guard and makes him wonder if she actually owns any normal clothes for the morning. She seemed genuinely happy to run into him and even called him by his full name. Park Jin-young could not help but feel a bit overwhelmed by her intense and bubbly energy. He stared at her with a blank expression while trying to figure out where he had seen her before. His memory was failing him at the worst possible time. He suddenly remembers she is Sunwoo's friend, but in his mind, she is as dense and stubborn as a literal rock. He can't believe this is the person who just interrupted his morning grind with such chaotic energy and absolutely zero sense of personal space or boundaries. Suk-young did not care about his confusion and pointed toward the metal pull-up bar. She told him to quit stalling and just get back to his training routine. Our boy grabbed the bar and hoisted himself up with everything he had left in the tank. He wanted to show off a little bit now that he had an audience. Suk-young's face twisted into a mask of pure horror as she watched him move. She looked like she was witnessing a literal crime against the world of fitness. She screamed at him and asked who on earth does pull-ups with that kind of terrible form. She even lunged forward to stop him before he hurt himself. Jin-young lost his grip on the bar and went tumbling onto the ground in a messy heap. He was rolling around while trying to figure out what just happened. He clutched his head in pain and let out a pathetic groan for the world to hear. His pride was hurting way more than his actual body at this point. Suk-young stands over him with zero patience for his terrible athletic skills and total lack of proper form. She looks ready to lecture him on fitness until his ears bleed while her shadow looms over his defeated and sweaty body like a final boss. She stared him down and told him that his form was complete and total disaster. She was not going to let him get away with such lazy and incorrect training. When he tries to argue, she just scoffs and treats him like a total idiot who's wasting his time. Our boy is left completely speechless as she continues to roast his non-existent gains and tells him he's basically a human boulder with no hope for survival. Her gaze is sharp and focused as she prepares to school him on how to actually train like a human being. It's becoming very obvious that his morning routine is about to get a lot more intense thanks to this pink-clad drill sergeant. Park Jin-young is feeling the pressure as his brain tries to process everything. This morning workout is turning into a full-blown mental marathon before it even gets physical. The muscular mustache man sits back and strokes his chin while deep in thought. He looks like a philosopher who just spent way too much time hitting the bench press. He starts dropping some heavy wisdom about knowing the enemy to win 100 battles. It is the kind of advice that sounds cool until you realize you are just at the gym. The coach explains that Jin Yong was only studying Sunwoo to keep from getting distracted by her. He raises a finger to emphasize that understanding her is the key to staying focused. Our boy finally catches on to the plan. He realizes that instead of guessing, he should just casually ask Sukyoung for the inside scoop on her friend. Jin Yong looks up at the bright morning sky and decides Sukyoung is definitely a better source of info than that old gym pig. Some people just have no respect for their elders. A little later, Sukyoung arrives at the park looking fresh in a baggy pink hoodie and black leggings. She stands there with a blank expression, as if she is waiting for him to say something. The morning light makes the whole park feel like a scene from a slice of life anime. Jin Yong points out that her outfit seems different. He asks her what exactly changed since the last time they met up for a training session. He narrows his eyes and notes that she even swapped out her pants and shoes for something new. Our protagonist is surprisingly observant when it comes to fashion choices. Sukyoung completely ignores his comments and tells him to get on the bar. She wants him to do a pull-up so she can judge his form with her expert eyes. While preparing for the exercise, Jin Yong decides to take the plunge. He awkwardly asks Sukyoung if she and Sunwoo are actually as close as they seem to be. She confirms they are tight, but looks a bit suspicious. She wants to know exactly why he is bringing up another girl in the middle of their workout. Sukyoung leans in with a knowing look and asks point blank if he is interested in Sunwoo. Her eyes are wide as she waits for his reaction to the call out. Our boy immediately panics and starts waving his hands around while his face turns red. He insists it is nothing like that, and he was just feeling a little curious. Sukyoung is not buying his act for a second. She tells him that literally anyone with eyes could see that he has a thing for the mysterious girl. A random rooster suddenly appears and starts nodding along to their conversation. I honestly can't tell if this is a public park or a secret petting zoo. Jin Yong tries to play it cool by asking if his interest is just because she is popular. He is desperately trying to find a logical excuse for his behavior. Close up on Sukyoung's mouth as she begins to speak about her friend Sunwoo. Sukyoung gets lost in thought as she tries to make sense of everything she knows about her best friend. Even she has to admit that Sunwoo has lived a pretty hidden life. Memories of high school come flooding back as she remembers the black-haired girl always surrounded by a group of cheerful friends. They used to spend every break together in the hallway looking like the most popular clique in school. Sukyoung recalls how they used to sit together in the classroom during their breaks. Even though they spent the most time together, there was always a distance between them. Her expression softens as she realizes just how much she still doesn't know about her closest companion. Sometimes the people we know best are the hardest to read. Back in the flashback, the two girls chat by the window while the sun pours into the room. It looks like a normal school day, but the vibe is slightly off. Sukyoung explains that Sunwoo always felt like someone who was carrying around a lot of heavy secrets. She has a mysterious aura that draws people in while keeping them away. She snaps back to the present and gives Jin Yong a playful grin. She thinks it is funny that he is so obsessed with someone he barely knows. Our boy is left even more confused than before. He wonders what could possibly be so secret about a girl who seems to live a normal student life. Sukyoung has had enough talk and tells him to hurry up and get back to work. She is not here to be a relationship counselor all morning long. Out of nowhere, she delivers a lightning-fast kick that sends Jin Yong flying backward. Talk about a brutal wake-up call for our poor protagonist. She looks fired up and ready for round 2 while shouting at him to stay focused. Her training methods are definitely not for the faint of heart. Jin Yong sits on the ground with a bandage on his forehead, looking completely dazed. He is starting to regret ever asking for training from this violent girl. Sukyoung reaches for the zipper of her pink hoodie with a determined look on her face. She says things are starting to get a bit too hot out here. She starts peeling off the layer while Jin Yong watches in pure shock. Our boy was definitely not prepared for this sudden development in their training session. Sukyoung reveals her athletic form, looking like a professional athlete ready to take things to the next level of intensity. Jin Yong is definitely struggling to keep his composure. Jin Yong is frozen in place as he stares at the transformation. His brain has officially stopped working, and he can only manage a blank expression of disbelief. A close-up of Jin Yong's neck, as he gulps in nervousness at the sight before him. Suk-young looks like she was carved straight out of granite as she shows off the results of her insane training. This transformation is a total shocker for Park Jin-young. Our boy finally finds his voice and admits that she looks incredibly sturdy. She just asks if he agrees while the sun shines down on the campus buildings. Talk about a glow-up being literally set in stone. The brown-haired girl starts unzipping her hoodie with a confident smirk on her face. She clearly has something she wants to show off to our boy today. Jin-young can only stare in silence as she claims to be quite confident when it comes to sports. She's definitely setting the bar high for whatever is about to happen. Off comes the hoodie to reveal a very fit physique and some serious gym gains. She is practically radiating confidence while posing in the middle of the park. Our protagonist is absolutely paralyzed by the sudden wardrobe change and can barely blink. His brain is probably trying to process how she got so shredded so quickly. He lets out a heavy gulp as the tension in the air becomes almost thick enough to cut. This casual workout session is turning out way different than he expected. She suddenly radiates an aura so solid and imposing that she looks like a completely different person. The athletic girl is definitely not kidding about her background, and our boy is in for a long afternoon trying to keep up. The beautiful afternoon sun shines down while they continue to banter back and forth about her impressive form. It is the perfect day for some high-intensity outdoor training with a friend. While other park goers enjoy their afternoon in peace, none of them realize the intense drama unfolding near the exercise bars just a few feet away. It is the calm before the storm for our protagonist. Meanwhile, someone else is approaching the area with a plastic bag gripped tightly in her hand. She seems to be on a quiet mission of her own while walking the path. The exhausted girl with long black hair trudges down the trail looking completely spent, while she just tries to get through her day without any trouble. Her eyes remain focused on the ground while she carries her groceries home, hoping to remain invisible. The girl in the black cap looks up and suddenly freezes as she sees someone she recognizes. Her expression turns to one of pure shock and disbelief at the unexpected encounter. A couple of girls walk past her gossiping about how handsome their physical education teacher is. They are completely oblivious to the tired girl walking right next to them. The girl in the black cap spots some familiar faces from her class and immediately tries to stay under the radar. She pulls her hat down low, praying that they do not recognize her while she is out in public. The classmates walk right by her without noticing a single thing, which is a huge relief. She manages to stay invisible while carrying her bag, which is exactly what she wanted. She keeps her head down and pulls her cap even lower, hoping to pass by without being noticed. The tension is palpable as she tries to remain as inconspicuous as possible. Once the coast is finally clear, she lets out a massive sigh of relief because that encounter was way too close for comfort. The crushing anxiety of being spotted by her peers finally begins to melt away as she takes a moment to catch her breath. After the other girls pass, she looks back over her shoulder with a wary expression. She seems to be making sure the coast is finally clear before she continues on her way. She spots Jin Yong struggling to do pull-ups while his athletic friend watches him with an intense gaze. He looks like he is about to pass out from the effort. She watches the scene with a mix of concern and bewilderment, her eyes fixed on the boy's painful struggle. It's clear that seeing him in this state is causing her some distress. Jin Yong is giving it everything he has got, but his form is definitely lacking. His friend is just standing behind him, judging his lack of upper body strength and endurance. The girl in the cap offers a small, tentative smile, trying to remain positive despite the awkwardness. Her cheeks are flushed with a light blush as she watches the two of them interact. The brown-haired girl gives Jin Yong a little kick to motivate him while he hangs there. She is not letting him off the hook until he gets a real workout in today. It is tough love at its finest as she prepares to show him how it's really done. She tells him to grab the bar just like this as she prepares to demonstrate the proper technique. It is time for a little live demonstration from a professional athlete. When she pulls herself up, her back muscles look like they are carved out of stone. This girl is a literal beast when it comes to high-level calisthenics. She makes the pull-ups look effortless as she moves her body up and down with perfect rhythm. Our boy is just standing there feeling completely defeated by her superior strength. Every single movement she makes is precise and shows off her dedicated training. From the sidelines, the girl in the cap watches as the athletic girl calls the poor guy a useless rock while he struggles. Sookyung is clearly unimpressed by his pathetic attempt compared to her own perfect form. Jin Yong looks over and realizes he is being watched by someone very familiar. The realization that his embarrassing struggle was witnessed by her hits him like a ton of bricks. The girl with the cap finally approaches the duo with a bright and surprisingly cheerful smile as her mood does a complete 180. She gives them friendly wave while still clutching her bag of groceries and preparing to join the group. The athletic girl is shocked to see her and shouts out the name Sunwoo in surprise. It turns out these three all know each other much better than it seemed. Jin Yong is caught totally off guard by her sudden appearance and can only let out a surprised sound. He definitely was not expecting a reunion at the exercise equipment. Sunwoo jokes that the other girl just cannot resist giving people unrequested advice. They seem to have a very playful and familiar dynamic that goes way back. Out of nowhere, a literal rooster just wanders into the scene like it owns the place. Someone really needs to check the local leash laws for random poultry in the park. Sunwoo looks over with a curious and slightly surprised expression, her attention caught by something Jin Yong said. The light blush on her cheeks suggests she might be feeling a bit self-conscious. Jin Yong finally finds his voice and waves at her with a big smile despite his tired muscles. He seems genuinely happy to see her here even though he is totally exhausted. It is a nice break from the brutal training session he was just enduring. The whole group gathers around the bars to talk about how they even managed to do such exercises. Jin Yong admits that just hanging there is already hard enough for him. Jin Yong reminds Sunwoo that she really needs to be careful because of her anemia, but she takes it as a personal jab. He quickly apologizes to keep things from getting any more awkward between them. Sookyung and Sunwoo have a moment of quiet interaction, with Sookyung looking up at her friend with a bright and encouraging expression. The dynamic between the two is clear as they prepare for the next part of their workout. Sookyung tells our boy to stay in the front and count their reps while they prepare to tackle the pull-up bar together. Sunwoo reaches for the bar and starts her first attempt while Sookyung helps her out by lifting her from the waist. Jin Yong stands by and watches the two of them struggle through the first few seconds of the exercise. It's a lot of work for a single rep. Even with a literal human booster helping her up, Sunwoo admits that this is way harder than it looks on paper. Sookyung is giving it her all to make sure her friend does not just fall straight back down onto the pavement. Sunwoo stares up at the pull-up bar with a look of pure determination, focusing all her energy on the task ahead. Jin Yong stands there looking totally dazed while watching the girl in the black tank top prepare for her next set of exercises. He seems completely mesmerized by her athleticism, even if he looks a bit like a deer in headlights while doing so. He is staring so intensely that it is honestly starting to get a little bit weird. Just count the reps, man. Sunwoo is clearly reaching her limit, as her face turns a deep shade of red from the sheer physical effort. Sookyung is really putting her back into it now, trying to shove Sunwoo upward so she can clear the bar. With a final, desperate grunt, Sunwoo manages to haul herself up for one last rep. Her muscles are screaming at her, and she looks like she is about to collapse right there on the spot from the exhaustion. It is a brutal way to spend the afternoon. She looks totally drained, like all the energy has been sucked right out of her body by that single bar. Jin Yong is still just standing there like a statue, watching the whole scene unfold without changing his expression at all. Sunwoo is completely silent as she stares up at the metal bar, her face flushed from the physical exertion. Her strength finally gives out completely, and her grip starts to slip away from the smooth metal surface of the bar. Disaster strikes when her hands suddenly lose their grip on the metal bar, leaving her completely shocked as she starts to fall. Her eyes go wide with pure terror because she definitely did not expect her strength to give out so fast. Both girls go flying backward in a messy tangle of limbs and gym gear as they lose their balance completely. Our boy just stands there and watches the total disaster happen, likely wondering why they even bothered with the training today. They end up in a heap on the floor, completely defeated by the pull-up bar. Sookyung looks like she is ready to just stay there forever, while Sunwoo is too tired to even move a single muscle. Their training session definitely did not go as planned. Jin Yong sighs and points out that he told her not to push it since she already knows she has anemia. The fall ends up being a total mess, leaving the brown-haired girl sprawled out on the floor like a starfish while her friend checks on her. They are both completely exhausted and defeated after that brutal workout session went horribly wrong. Sookyung is just staring up at the sky with a vacant look, her brain probably fried from all that lifting effort. Jin Yong and the girl in the black cap look absolutely done with the situation as they try to explain why things got so heated. It turns out someone really pushed their buttons, causing the girl to completely lose her cool in the middle of the park. The girls start messing around again as Sookyung literally lifts Sunwoo up into the air in a fit of playful frustration. Even after a rough fall, they still have enough energy to goof off and cause a scene in public. Our boy is just standing there trying to ignore them. The day finally begins to transition as the brutal training session comes to an end for the three of them. The sky glows with the warm colors of a sunset as they finally prepare to head back home for the night. Jin Yong and Sunwoo walk down the street together, the atmosphere much calmer now that the sun is starting to set. He looks over at her and notices that she seems to be in a much better mood despite the earlier workout disaster. Sunwoo is carrying a small bag and looks far more relaxed than she was during those pull-up attempts. The evening air is definitely helping. Sunwoo smiles and mentions that she should probably ask Sookyung for some proper exercise tips sometime soon so this doesn't happen again. Jin Yong listens to her talk, but he seems to be lost in his own thoughts for a brief moment there. A man with a thick mustache and a very serious expression appears in his mind, looking like a strict coach. This mysterious mustache man gives a firm thumbs up, almost like some kind of weird motivational hallucination from his past. They eventually reach the crosswalk where they have to go their separate ways, and Jin Yong waves a casual goodbye to her. He starts to walk away while Sunwoo stands there on the corner, watching him go for a second. It looks like the day is finally winding down. Sunwoo suddenly stops and calls out to him, looking like she just remembered something she really needed to say before he left. Jin Yong pauses and turns back toward her, waiting to see what is on her mind this time. She seems a little hesitant to speak up. He asks her what is up, wondering if there is something else she wants to talk about before they officially end the day. Jin Yong stands there frozen, staring back at her like he is trying to solve a complex math equation in his head. He definitely does not realize he is missing a huge opportunity. She gives him a beaming, blushing smile that could light up a whole city block. She looks genuinely happy, clearly hoping for a better reaction than what she is about to get. Waving goodbye, she walks away with her plastic bag while Jin Yong just gives a dry response. He completely fails to read the room, ending the interaction with a simple bye. Out of nowhere, a tiny version of his friend poofs into existence on his shoulder. This little guy is already judging him, asking why he would choose to say something so awkward. The real Jason is actually sitting nearby, face palming so hard his hand is practically fused to his forehead while dying of second-hand embarrassment. Our boy is so clueless he asks why he is sighing. Jason looks at him with pure pity, explaining that while he is no expert on romance, he knows a disaster when he sees one. He is basically watching a train wreck in slow motion. Jin Yong starts breaking into a cold sweat because he realizes he just made a massive mistake with his response. The realization that he gave the worst possible answer hits him like a truck, and he has no idea how to fix the situation. Jin Yong begins the lonely walk back home, crossing the street while the miniature Jason continues to nag him. He is told to use this time to reflect on his complete lack of game. As the sun sets over the neighborhood, Jin Yong tries to defend himself against the tiny spirit's insults. He thinks the criticism is a bit harsh, but he still doesn't understand the core problem. Out of nowhere, a random rooster starts tailing the girl in the black cap, sending her into a total state of panic. She hilariously confronts the bird in the middle of the street, demanding to know why this feathery stalker won't leave her alone. The school rooftop seemed like a nice place to be since it was so open and spacious. A lone student with brown hair and a yellow hoodie walks across the green turf, enjoying the silence that only comes after hours. As evening settles over the city, she takes a moment to stretch her arms and breathe in the cool air. She assumed that at this time of day, she would be the only person left on the premises. Our girl stops in her tracks when a mysterious melody suddenly echoes through the evening air. She looks around in complete shock, wondering who could possibly be playing music in such a lonely place. Standing by the edge of the fence, she looks down toward the main school building. The melody is clear and haunting, echoing through the empty courtyard as the sky grows darker by the minute. She stands there in total confusion, wondering who could possibly be playing the piano this late at night. The music room should have been locked up long ago, yet the performance is unmistakably real. The sheer skill of the hidden pianist is overwhelming, causing her pupils to contract in shock. Every note hits with a precision that feels almost supernatural, pinning her to the spot as she listens intently. She is so impressed that she actually gives a thumbs up to the empty air, admitting the playing was good enough to send shivers down her spine. The talent displayed in that empty room is truly on another level. A small group of students stands in the hallway. Park Jin-young and Young Sun-woo listen with varying expressions as the large, glasses-wearing student stands at the front of the group. Our boy Park Jin-young looks a bit concerned, asking why she is telling the story like it is some kind of horror movie. Young Sun-woo is already starting to look a little pale just hearing about it. The scary story is way too much for this muscular guy, who ends up curled into a shivering ball on the floor. It turns out that even the biggest muscles in school are no match for a truly terrifying ghost story. The group gathers in the center of the corridor, still reeling from the idea that someone at their school is that talented. They stand in a small circle, completely absorbed in the mystery of the rooftop melody. A large student with glasses and a tight suit crosses his arms and steps into the conversation. He has a very serious look on his face, as if he knows exactly what she is talking about. He leans in and asks them if they have ever heard of the music room ghost. The mention of a supernatural entity immediately changes the vibe of the entire discussion. An image of a dusty piano with blood dripping onto the white keys flashes through their minds as he speaks. He claims that late at night, the instrument plays itself while haunted by a tragic spirit. This guy delivers the story with such a straight face, even though his buttons are clearly fighting for their lives against that suit. He insists the legend is true and that the music is a warning. The three friends stare back at him with varying degrees of disbelief and genuine terror. Young Sun-woo looks like she might actually faint if he says one more word about ghosts or haunted instruments. Park Jin-young adjusts his glasses, looking totally unimpressed by the tall tale. He wonders what kind of cheap ghost story this guy is trying to sell them in the middle of a school day. He lets out a frustrated sigh, clearly not buying into the supernatural hype. To him, there has to be a logical explanation for someone playing the piano after hours that does not involve the undead. Beside him, Young Sun-woo is visibly trembling, clutching her chest as she tries to process the scary story. She seems to be taking every word as absolute gospel, much to the surprise of Park Jin-young. Our boy realizes that despite her usual calm demeanor, Sun-woo is secretly kind of timid. The fact that she is shaking just from a silly story makes him see her in a completely different light. Their conversation is cut short when a voice calls out the names of Park Jin-young and their other friend. The group turns to see a teacher standing further down the hall, waiting for them. Miss Han Jae-yeol stands with her arms crossed, looking professional in her gray blazer and glasses. She has a sharp gaze that tells the students it is time to stop gossiping and get moving. The students quickly disperse, with the girl in the yellow hoodie leading the way. They acknowledge the teacher and start heading toward their next destination, though the mystery still lingers in the air. Once they are a bit further away, the brown-haired girl turns back to the large student to ask if the story was real. She has a skeptical look on her face as she waits for his honest answer. The big guy grinds his teeth and admits that he totally made the whole thing up. He only said it because he wanted to see the scared looks on their faces for a little bit of fun. He walks away with a casual wave, leaving the girl standing there in disbelief. He notes that Sun-woo looked genuinely terrified, which seems to have been his main goal all along. She stands frozen in the hallway, her jaw dropping as she realizes they were all played. The tension from the ghost story evaporates, replaced by pure annoyance at being tricked so easily. She calls him an insane bastard under her breath as she looks out toward the moonlit buildings. It is officially night time now, and the school takes on a much creepier atmosphere than before. Later that night, Park Jin-young and Young Sun-woo walk through the dimly lit school corridors together. They discuss how hard Miss Han Jae-yeol works, trying to keep their minds off the earlier ghost talk. Park Jin-young notices that Sunwoo is still shivering as they walk side by side. Even though the story was revealed to be a prank, she cannot seem to shake the feeling of being watched. She looks up at him with wide, teary eyes, her face completely drained of color. The poor girl is still trapped in the horror of the story, proving she really is a total scaredy cat. She reaches out and grabs onto his sleeve, insisting that she is fine while her hands continue to shake. Park Jin-young looks down at her, wondering how he is supposed to handle someone this frightened. He tries to calm her down, looking at her with a mix of confusion and pity. It is clear that no matter what he says, she is not going to feel safe until they are far away from here. He tells her there is no such thing as ghosts in this world, hoping that a bit of logic will snap her out of it. She just whimpers in response, clearly not convinced by his rational thinking. She starts trembling even harder, worried about some poor girl who supposedly passed away because she choked on a piece of candy. Our boy can only stare as his friend completely loses it over the most ridiculous urban legend ever. Park Jin-young and his companion freeze as a soft melody drifts through the empty school halls. It is late, and the atmosphere is already unsettling enough without a random soundtrack playing. The girl stares ahead in pure disbelief, her mind immediately jumping to the worst possible conclusions. She wonders what could possibly be making that noise at this hour. Our boy tries to keep his cool, pointing out that the sound seems to be coming directly from the music room. He is trying his best to be the voice of reason here. She is not buying his logic for a second and asks if a real ghost could be the one behind the keys. The panic in her eyes is becoming very real. Even as he tries to convince her, it is just a dedicated student practicing late. Park Jin-young looks a little less certain than he did a moment ago. They peer down the dimly lit corridor, where the shadows seem to stretch longer than they should. Everything feels just a bit too quiet between the piano notes. She is thinking that moving another step forward might be the biggest mistake of her life. Her legs are practically glued to the floor in fear. Suddenly, a massive, dark silhouette with glowing white eyes looms at the far end of the hallway. It looks like something ripped straight out of a horror movie. The girl is absolutely trembling now, her hands clenched into fists as she stands frozen behind Jin-young. Our protagonist is also starting to break a sweat. A muffled scream escapes her lips as the sheer terror of the situation finally starts to sink in. She is ready to bolt at any second. The dark figure does not just stand there. It starts gliding toward them with an eerie and steady movement. It is definitely coming their way. That is the final straw for our girl, who lets out a full-blown shriek that probably woke up the entire neighborhood. She has officially reached her limit. Without a second thought, she bolts up the stairs to get as far away from the creepy atmosphere as possible. She is officially done with these urban legends and just wants to reach the safety of the main building. She is moving at Olympic speeds, her face twisted in a comical mask of pure fear. Forget the urban legends. This has become a real survival situation. The shadowy figure watches them scramble away, offering a helpful suggestion to at least use the stairs if they are going to run. Talk about a polite monster. The shadow fades to reveal a stunning woman with long hair and glasses who looks more confused than scary. She is actually teacher, and she wonders why they are running away from her like she is some kind of monster. She looks down at herself, genuinely questioning if her appearance is really that intimidating to the students. Our teacher clearly has no idea how she looks in the dark. A wave of disappointment washes over her as she pouts, feeling a little hurt that her students were so terrified of her presence. She was just checking the halls. Meanwhile, the apartment complex rooftop under the glow of a bright crescent moon. The night air is cool and quiet here compared to the school. Park Jin-young bursts through the rooftop door, gasping for air as he finally stops running. He has never had a cardio workout quite like that one before. Our boy leans against the wall, clutching his chest as his heart tries to hammer its way out of his ribcage. That was way too close for comfort. The girl is even worse off, complaining about the stairs while clutching her side in pain. She blames her sudden lack of stamina on her anemia. Jin-young is visibly annoyed, thinking back to the guy who started all this by telling those creepy stories in the first place. This is all that idiot's fault. Even though they are safe, he cannot help but wonder who was actually playing the piano in the music room so late at night. It is still very weird. The girl is still shivering, her eyes wide as she tries to process the fact that they just survived a ghost encounter. Or at least, that is what she thinks happened. Suddenly, a man with a sharp mustache and a confident smirk appears, looking like he stepped right out of a high-end drama. He seems very pleased with himself. He is wearing a dramatic vampire costume, complete with a flowing black cape and a deep red vest. This guy is definitely committed to the aesthetic. The man mentions something about a good situation, his tone full of mystery and a hint of mischief. Whoever this dude is, he is living his best life. He raises a finger as if to make a point, his expression turning serious yet playful at the same time. He is clearly the main character of his own story. The man is clearly savoring every second of this prank as he watches his master plan finally unfold. He definitely has everything under control. Back on the roof, Park Jin-young feels a sudden tug on his blazer and looks back to see his friend reaching out for him. She seems to have something important to say. Her lips tremble slightly as she prepares to speak, her face flushing a deep shade of pink in the moonlight. The fear is gone, replaced by something else. She clings to his arm, looking up at him with wide, vulnerable eyes that tell a whole different story than her usual bickering. The atmosphere on this rooftop just shifted completely. Our protagonist is completely caught off guard, his cheeks turning red as he stares back at her. His brain has officially entered a total system failure. They stand there in a heavy silence, the city lights twinkling in the background as the gap between them narrows. It looks like the ghost story just turned into a romance. Jin-young looks completely caught off guard as he ponders some deep psychological theories about the human heart. He remembers hearing about how danger can sometimes be mistaken for romantic attraction in the heat of the moment. It's called the suspension bridge effect, where being in a scary or dangerous situation makes you feel closer to the person beside you. Back on the rooftop, the sound of machinery hums in the background as the two students stand together in the cool night air. Jin-young notices that Sun-woo's face has softened up quite a bit too, and she looks genuinely pleased by the change. The atmosphere shifts instantly as Jin-young starts acting like a total goofball to lighten the mood for his companion. This unexpected silly side of him catches the long-haired girl by surprise and makes her break into a smile. She starts laughing and decides to share a story about her past, specifically from when they were both back in kindergarten. Back then, she used to throw massive tantrums because she absolutely hated being partnered up with a boy named Jae-min. She eventually quit dancing to focus on art lessons instead, especially since her anemia made it hard to keep up with the physical demand. Even though she hated the pairing, she admits that Jae-min was actually a total dance prodigy who moved with incredible grace. Jin-young tries to imagine that big guy busting a move, and his brain just refuses to compute the image. Some things are just impossible to visualize. He admits to her that the world of dancing is something he has never even considered stepping into before tonight. Sun-woo pauses for a moment, resting a finger on her chin as she gets lost in her own thoughts about those old days. A mischievous and playful look crosses her face as she turns her full attention back toward our protagonist. Out of nowhere, she tells him to hold out his hand, catching him completely off guard with the sudden request. He is totally confused, but she just insists that he stop overthinking everything and just give her his hand already. Their hands slowly close the distance between them, as the city lights flicker in the distance behind the school fence. He finally takes her hand, and the atmosphere on the rooftop shifts into something far more intimate than before. She pulls him closer and begins to lead him through a basic dance step, her eyes shining with excitement. Unfortunately, Jin-young has the grace of a falling brick and accidentally stomps directly onto her foot with his slide. Sun-woo immediately doubles over in pain, clutching her toes while Jin-young panics and apologizes profusely for being so clumsy. She looks up with a pained and sweaty expression, but surprisingly, she doesn't look even a little bit angry at him. She tells him that it's totally fine and insists that they should try to start the dance over one more time. They try again, but Jin-young is flailing his arms like he is fighting off a swarm of invisible bees. This guy is a walking safety hazard. He manages to step on her foot for a second time, proving that his coordination is basically non-existent at this point. Our boy loses his balance completely and ends up eating dirt as he faceplants onto the concrete rooftop. Sun-woo breaks out into a fit of genuine laughter, finding his total lack of rhythm and coordination to be absolutely hilarious. Her laughter slowly fades into a soft, warm smile as she watches him struggle to gather his dignity and get back up. Jin Yong looks up at her from the ground, feeling like a complete loser after such a pathetic and embarrassing display. She waits for him to say something, clearly curious about what is going on inside his head after that fall. Instead of just standing back up, he shifts his weight and drops down onto one knee with a very serious look. Jin Yong decides to take a massive leap of faith by offering his hand once more. He looks her in the eye and asks her to look after him from now on, showing he is determined to make this connection work despite his earlier blunders. It's a bold move for a guy who just face-planted. Sunwoo stands there frozen in place, her eyes wide as she tries to process the sudden change in his energy. Under the city lights, the long-haired girl looks up with a blush on her cheeks and a look of pure wonder in her eyes. She is genuinely impressed by everything that just happened and can hardly find the right words to say. Under the soft glow of the crescent moon, she accepts his hand and tells him that she will be in his care as well. The two of them stand together as the city lights twinkle far below them, creating a perfect movie-like moment on the school roof. Jin Yong turns a deep shade of red, staring up at her with a look of pure adoration and disbelief that she actually said yes. She gazes out at the city lights, lost in her own thoughts for a brief moment as the wind blows through her hair. Our ghostly helper is chilling with a glass of wine, looking quite dapper in his fancy vampire costume. He settles into his seat and crosses his legs, clearly enjoying the little drama unfolding before him. He admits with a smirk that he's doing all of this for the sake of someone else. Back on the roof, Jin Yong and his lady friend share a beautiful dance under the stars. It's the kind of cheesy romance you only see in movies, a classic rom-com move right here, everyone. Eventually, they head back down and walk out of the school together into the quiet night. She brings up something that has been on her mind for a while now, asking if he remembers a specific name from their past. She mentions that she actually still enjoys drawing, which catches Jin Yong completely off guard. He had no idea she had any interest in the arts at all. Our boy quickly promises to make it up to her, wanting to support whatever hobby she decides to pursue. She gives him a cute look and says she might give drawing another shot sometime very soon. Jin Yong stays behind to reflect on the surprising news, coming to terms with the fact that he actually had no clue about this artistic side of the girl he likes. A close-up of Jin Yong's face reveals his absolute shock and confusion as he tries to process what he just heard. Suddenly, she realizes she needs a quick bathroom break and makes a run back toward the dark school building. Jin Yong calls out to ask if she will be fine alone in there, but she just waves him off. She's going to be right back. He watches her go with a concerned expression, thinking about how dark and creepy the hallways are at night. Jin Yong remembers how easily frightened she used to be, which makes her current behavior even more surprising to him. Our boy cannot help but wonder how she can just waltz into that pitch-black hallway all by herself. It seems like a massive change from the girl he once knew. He's actually starting to get a bit worried that something might be off. He stands there contemplating the situation when suddenly, a cloud of smoke appears, signaling the arrival of his spectral mentor. The fancy vampire outfit is gone, replaced by a muscle-bound tank top look as our gym bro ghost gets down to business. He looks like he is ready to give some serious life advice. Jin Yong brings up the suspension bridge effect plan they discussed earlier. He is trying to figure out if this is all part of the strategy to make her fall for him. The coach listens intently while he weighs their options and considers what the best tactical move for the night should be. Inside the restroom, the girl is not exactly looking scared at all. She leans into the mirror and starts fixing her makeup with a very determined look on her face. The real battle prep always happens at the bathroom vanity. She meticulously touches up her lipstick to ensure she looks absolutely perfect before she heads back outside to meet her date. A confident smile plays on her lips as she admires the result. She knows exactly what she is doing and how to play her cards right. Deep within the school, someone is still grinding away in the music room despite how late it is getting. A tall woman with glasses, likely a teacher, steps into the room and tells the student it's time to wrap things up and head home. Practice has clearly been brutal today, as the short-haired girl sits slumped at her piano, completely drained of energy and lost in her own thoughts after hours of repeating the same melodies. Practicing the same notes over and over has clearly taken its toll on her, leaving her feeling totally burnt out and exhausted. The teacher asks what she is muttering about because she can't hear a single word the student is saying over there. With the night winding down, they finally decide to call it a day and head home. The school buildings dim as they leave the grounds together under the dark sky. A group of girls chats away in the middle of a classroom, enjoying a typical school day and relaxing during their break time together. They spend their break laughing and gossiping, soaking up that classic high school vibe where everything feels light and easy as they chat about their lives. Sunwoo is feeling particularly cheerful today, flashing a big smile at her friends as she comfortably takes her place as the center of the conversation. This sign for classroom 2-5 marks the spot where all the main action is about to unfold as we get to know these students better. Sunwoo sits at her desk deep in thought, holding her pen and ready to sketch out her secret imagination onto the notebook waiting in front of her. She starts chewing on her pen while staring off into space. It looks like she is waiting for inspiration to strike, or maybe she is just lost in a daydream. Jin Young previously asked her to draw a bearded, muscular macho guy, even promising to make it worth her while if she actually finished the sketch for him. Back at her desk, Sunwoo contemplates her next drawing with deep focus, feeling completely absorbed in her thoughts as she prepares to put her imagination onto paper. She suddenly leans forward as something catches her attention, the sharp creak of her chair echoing through the room as she tries to get a better look. She turns around suddenly after hearing someone call her name, looking back toward the entrance with a sense of mild surprise at the unexpected interruption. Her classmates approach with big smiles and enthusiastic waves, clearly happy to see her and ready to start their usual lunch break routine together. Sunwoo talks back to her friends with a cheeky grin, playfully explaining her side of the story as they start their usual school day banter. Sunwoo claps her hands with a giggle, clearly on board with the plan and excited to get started on whatever new project they have in mind. Yuan holds up her smartphone to share a discovery, making Sunwoo wonder exactly what kind of viral content her friend has managed to find online. It turns out they are looking at a video titled "Surviving as a Second Year in a Co-ed School." The girl mentions that she popped one of them for a bit last time. Yuan continues showing off the phone, clearly proud of their channel's growth as she tries to build up some hype for their next big post. Sunwoo just laughs it off, clearly enjoying the attention and the chance to be part of this fun content creation project with her closest friends. Sunwoo notes that Yuan is well on her way to becoming a real influencer as they discuss their next big plan for the upcoming video. Sunwoo listens carefully to the plan, despite feeling a bit hesitant about the influencer lifestyle and the sudden pressure that comes with it. But then she just smiles and goes along with the idea, clenching her fist as she prepares to take on whatever challenge comes her way next. Meanwhile, outside the school building, the sun is shining brightly. It is a perfectly normal afternoon for everyone else on campus as they go about their daily business. This intense guy with a thick mustache looks like he walked straight out of an old-school action movie with that determined and serious stare. Jin Young is completely thrown off when he realizes this tiny macho man is actually sitting right on his shoulder with a very serious look. The little guy tells him that doing something this small is nothing more than practice for a pro. He is surprisingly confident for someone who is only 2 inches tall. Jin Young walks down the hallway, but he is completely unsettled by the sight of other students who appear to have literal rocks for heads. He reaches the classroom door and slides it open with a sharp sound. He is not really sure what he is walking into, but he is ready to face it. The tiny man vanishes into a puff of smoke, leaving a dazed Jin Young to wonder if he just imagined the whole bizarre and surreal encounter. Inside the room, the girls are busy filming. One of them tells the main girl she should at least tell the viewers her name, but she insists on staying mysterious. Jin Young freezes because, from his perspective, the other girls have literal rocks for heads. They are making peace signs and laughing while looking like blocky stone statues. Jin Young tries to process why his vision has suddenly gone haywire, struggling to understand why he is seeing rock-headed statues instead of his normal classmates. He walks past them while trying to act natural, but the bizarre situation in this classroom is clearly becoming too much for him to handle right now. The main girl catches his eye for a split second. To him, she is the only one in the entire group who still looks like a normal human being. Jin Young does not say a single word and just keeps walking right out of the room. He needs a moment to figure out if he is actually losing his mind. Sunwoo stands frozen while her friends continue their loud celebration, unable to understand why Jin Young just walked out of the classroom like that without saying a word. Inside the classroom, the girls celebrate their successful filming session, while Jin Young watches from the back looking completely dazed. Even outside on the school steps, the surreal sight continues as the rock-headed girls sit together to review their footage, while Jin Young stands at a distance, trying to make sense of it all. As the sun begins to set over the city, casting a warm orange glow across the apartment complexes, he finally lets out a heavy sigh of relief. The day has been a total roller coaster, and he just needs a second to breathe. He starts walking home, thinking about Sunwoo and how she is undeniably the most popular girl at school. Everyone seems to gravitate toward her, and it is easy to see why. Even from behind, she has this presence that demands attention, and Jin Young can't help but admit to himself that she really is something special. Suddenly, he hears a soft pop sound and whips his head around to see if something happened. He is always on edge these days, waiting for the next weird thing to drop. To his surprise, Sunwoo is standing there with a bright smile on her face, waving at him like they are the best of friends. She looks perfectly normal, but that is what makes it so unnerving. Jin Young stammers out a quick excuse, his glasses fogging up from the sudden social pressure as he tries to act cool. He insists he wasn't doing anything suspicious, even though his face says otherwise. They share a playful moment, bumping into each other as the tension from earlier begins to melt away into simple high school antics. Seeing an opportunity to be a gentleman, he nervously asks if she wants him to walk her home. It is a bold move for our boy, and he is clearly sweating the response. For a split second, Sunwoo's expression shifts into something more serious, almost as if she is weighing the weight of the request. Before she can answer, two other girls from their class, Yuan and Subin, come jogging up to join the conversation. The social circle is expanding, and Jin Young feels like a third wheel on a bicycle. Sunwoo greets the girls with high energy, and they immediately fire back by asking if she is busy, completely ignoring the fact that she was in the middle of a moment with our boy. Yuan looks particularly enthusiastic, her eyes wide as she talks about their plans for the evening. These girls are like a localized storm of social energy. Jin Young and Sunwoo stand side by side, watching the duo chatter away. It is a stark contrast to the quiet, heavy atmosphere they were just sharing. The two friends are laughing and having a great time, seemingly oblivious to any of the underlying drama happening under the surface. Finally, they wave goodbye and mention they will head off for the day, leaving the two of them alone once again. Sunwoo waves back with that same perfect smile, acting the part of the popular, friendly girl that everyone loves. But the moment they turn their backs, her face completely drops into a mask of pure terror. She hears them casually mention buying her off with food later, and the realization of how fake her friends are paralyzes her with dread. Her anxiety finally reaches its breaking point as she nervously clutches her school uniform in the middle of the hallway. The fear is becoming way too much for her to handle as she tries to keep herself composed. Jin Young watches the other two walk away, noticing the sudden shift in the air. He is starting to realize that Sunwoo's popular life might not be as perfect as it looks from the outside. He wonders to himself if those two are actually her close friends, or if there is something more complicated going on behind the scenes. He realizes he knows almost nothing about her real life. He steals a quick glance at her, trying to read her expression without being too obvious about his concerns. Our boy might be quiet, but he is observant, and he can tell that the girl standing next to him is fighting an internal battle. The shadows of the nearby buildings seem to grow longer and darker, matching the sudden shift in the mood. Sunwoo looks down at the ground, her shoulders slumped, and all that previous energy completely gone. The mask has slipped, and what is left looks like a person who is totally exhausted. Jin Young stands there awkwardly, not knowing if he should speak up or give her some space. He is caught between being a good friend and not overstepping his bounds. He adjusts his glasses, focusing on her as he tries to find the right words to break the silence. She takes a deep breath, her lips trembling slightly as she prepares to face the world again. It is a small, quiet moment of struggle that only he is witnessing. Then, just like that, she snaps back into character, pumping her fists with a forced cheerfulness that is honestly kind of tragic. High school social survival is a full-time job, everyone. She tells him that since her friends are gone, he definitely has to walk her home now. He nods quickly, relieved to see her smiling again, even if he knows it is a lie. She starts walking ahead, waving him over as she puts on a brave face for the walk back. Jin Yong follows a few steps behind, his mind still racing with questions about what he just saw. He can't shake the feeling that he is seeing a side of her no one else knows. He swallows hard, feeling the weight of the secrets she is clearly carrying. He thinks back to a moment sitting on a bench with a senior, realizing that he has sensed something strange from Sunwoo for a while now. That nagging feeling in his gut just won't go away. He grips his backpack strapped tight, resolving to keep a close eye on her. Whatever is going on, he is clearly more involved in her world than he ever expected to be. This buff guy with the mustache looks like he's questioning his whole life while catching his breath. He's just sitting there, absolutely massive, but looking surprisingly vulnerable and worn out. He stares down with sweat rolling down his face, lost in some heavy thoughts. Whatever is on his mind must be serious to make a mountain of a man look this worried. Meanwhile, our boy Park Jin-young is standing in the street looking ready to take on the world. He has that focused look in his eyes that usually means he's made up his mind. He knows that if he wants answers, he cannot just sit around and wait for them to arrive. It is time to stop playing defense and start making moves to uncover the truth. The mysterious muscular guy with the massive mustache begins to speak, his presence dominating the entire area. Just looking at him makes it clear that he is exactly the kind of character she was dreaming about earlier. Night falls over the quiet park, setting the stage for a meeting that feels like it was a long time coming. The atmosphere is calm, but something is definitely brewing under the surface. Jin-young stands by a park bench, going over the plan in his head. He realizes the best way to get the truth is to reach out to the person closest to Sunwoo and call them out. Suddenly he hears footsteps approaching and snaps his head toward the sound. He was expecting someone to show up, but he still looks caught off guard now that the moment is actually here. She walks through the park late at night wearing a comfy jacket and shorts, wondering why she was summoned at this hour. Even though she acts annoyed by the late invitation, she still showed up to see what was so important. She gives him a playful smirk and reminds him that she already told him not to go falling for her. Even in a serious moment, she cannot help but keep up that sassy attitude of hers. Jin-young finally gets her alone in the park to demand some real answers and put an end to the games. He's the one who initiated this confrontation, but we'll have to see if he's actually prepared for the truth she's about to drop. Jin-young tells Suk-young he has a shift soon and needs her to get to the point. She is clearly taken aback by how blunt he is being about his busy schedule. He wonders if she is also pulling night shifts lately. The quiet atmosphere of the park makes this conversation feel much more personal than their usual bickering at school. Suk-young stares at him with wide eyes, clearly caught off guard by his question. Her light brown hair is tied up in its usual bun as she processes the conversation. Suk-young immediately jumps to conclusions and asks if he is looking for love advice. She probably thinks our boy is finally ready to admit he has a crush on someone. The close-up shows a man wearing a Deerslayer cap, looking downward in thought. This guy is dressed like a classic detective with a pipe and a trench coat. The text mentions that talking to Jumin just feels awkward somehow for some reason. Back in reality, the two of them sit together on the park bench. Park Jin-young looks down at the ground while Suk-young stares off into the distance, deep in thought about a certain memory that has been bothering her lately. Man, this park bench is getting more action than a therapist office. The memory of that girl still looks incredibly troubled, clearly weighed down by some past event that caused her a lot of internal distress back in the day. Our boy looks pretty nervous, with a bead of sweat running down his face. He is clearly waiting for her to continue her story or explain what is on her mind. Suk-young rests her chin on her hand, looking quite pensive. She is trying to find the right words to describe a strange scene she witnessed back at school recently. Suk-young finally mentions the one specific thing that keeps coming back to her. It has everything to do with how a certain girl acted during a birthday celebration they had in class. Jin-young listens intently, his white glasses reflecting the dim park light. He agrees to hear her out as she prepares to dive into the uncomfortable details. Suk-young recalls a birthday celebration for a classmate she wasn't even close to back in school. Despite the strawberry chocolate cake on the desk, the scene felt fake and forced for the group. Sukyoung and the mysterious black-haired girl are the only ones who seem to notice how fake this entire party is. They both look uncomfortable with the forced chatter around them. On the surface, it looks like a standard classroom party with everyone laughing. However, Sukyoung can sense a nasty underlying tension that makes the whole celebration feel like a total sham. Sukyoung glances over at the black-haired girl, wondering if she knew what the others were saying behind her back. The girl keeps her head down, looking totally isolated. Some of these girls are so checked out of the conversation that they look like they have literally lagged out of reality. High school drama really hits different when you're dissociating. The long-haired girl claps her hands together and puts on a bright, forced smile. She is trying her best to play along with the festivities despite the toxic atmosphere. The entire class gathers around the birthday girl's desk to shout their wishes in unison. It sounds like a celebration, but the overhead view reveals just how isolated the girl actually is. Sukyoung tries to talk to the black-haired girl, but the girl turns away slightly. The social divide in the room is becoming more obvious by the second. Our girl watches her walk away, feeling a strange sense of pity. She realizes that the celebration is more of a performance than a genuine gesture of friendship. Another student laughs awkwardly, noting that something must have hurt. High school social circles can be absolutely brutal when they want to be. A girl whispers into the ear of her friend, likely spreading more nasty rumors. They don't even care if they are being seen by the people they are mocking. Sukyoung is stunned by what she just heard. She stands in the middle of the hallway, wondering how people can be so heartless to someone they call a friend. Sukyoung is left completely baffled by the sheer hypocrisy of her classmates. She can't wrap her head around how they can sing happy birthday while whispering such nasty rumors about her. She watches the black-haired girl stand alone in the hallway. It is a lonely sight that sticks in her memory even after the school day is over. The narration explains that she overheard the nasty comments, but the girl's reaction wasn't exactly one of anger. It was something much stranger and harder to define than a simple grudge. Sukyoung couldn't help but wonder what was really going on inside that girl's head during the party. Back at the park, Sukyoung points a finger while explaining the situation to Jin-young. She is trying to make him understand the weird vibes from that day. Jin-young looks surprised by the story. He didn't expect the conversation to go in such a dark direction while they were just hanging out after school. Sukyoung is still haunted by the unsettling feeling she got that day. It was a vibe so creepy that she hasn't been able to shake it off after all these years. As she dives into the details, she realizes that the mysterious girl's reaction wasn't normal. She didn't look like a typical bullying victim, which only makes the whole situation even weirder. She hesitates for a moment before finally letting out the core of the mystery. This secret has been weighing on her for a long time, and it is finally time to spill. Sukyoung admits that the whole situation felt like a literal curse was hanging over them. The weight of her story fills the quiet night air as she brings her chilling memory to a conclusion. Jin-young stares at her, taking it all in. He looks a bit overwhelmed by the intensity of her school memories and the mystery of the black-haired girl. Finally, he stands up and says he is heading out for his shift. Sukyoung waves him off, the heavy mood lingering as they go their separate ways. Jin-young watches her walk away, the weight of her words about that mystery girl hanging heavy in the cool night air. Sukyoung looks back one last time, insisting that the whole situation is just way too much of a mystery for her to ignore. They finally split up at the park clock tower, but the gears in our boy's head are already turning as he heads for his shift. He wonders if he missed something obvious back then. Was he really that oblivious to everything happening around him during those school years? Our boy is starting to realize that he might actually be the densest guy on the planet, for being so oblivious to all of this high school drama back then. He pictures himself as some top-tier detective in a trench coat, trying to piece together a puzzle where half the pieces are missing. But even his inner Sherlock can't make sense of why Sukyoung is so hung up on these specific school memories after all this time. Reality hits him again as he realizes he needs to focus on the present instead of chasing ghosts from his high school days. Standard high school setting, but the vibes are definitely off. The scene shifts back to their old campus where the drama first started. Younger Sukyoung looks like she just saw a celebrity, her eyes wide with that classic high school excitement and pure shock. She rushes over to her friends in the hallway, waving her phone around like it contains the ultimate secrets of the universe. She is practically vibrating with energy while showing off a photo, while her friend with the ponytail watches with a nervous smile. But the black-haired girl named Yuan is not impressed at all. She stands there with her arms crossed, looking totally unbothered. Sookyung freezes mid-sentence. This is definitely not the excited reaction she was expecting after bringing over such a huge scoop to the group. The atmosphere shifts instantly. One minute they are chatting, and the next, Yuan feels miles away despite standing right in front of them. Sookyung tries to laugh it off with a sheepish grin, but her ponytail friend looks like she wants to disappear into the floorboards. She asks what is wrong, but the vibe in the hallway has gone from friendly to awkward in record time. Total confusion is written all over their faces as they try to read Yuan's unreadable and chillingly calm expression. Yuan just stands there with this cold and dismissive smile. It is the kind of look that makes you feel like you do not even exist, and she is clearly finished with this conversation before it even really started. Sookyung and her friend are left completely speechless, looking like their brains just hit a 404 error code during the interaction. Yuan remains rooted to the spot, staring them down with crossed arms while the other two just stand there, completely unsure of how to break the sudden silence. Her eyes are sharp and distant, showing a side of her personality that the others were never prepared to handle back then. She suddenly snaps back to a cheerful mask, waving goodbye with a bright smile that feels totally fake given the chilling vibe she just radiated. They watch her retreating back in silence, feeling the sudden and massive distance that has opened up between them. Sookyung is still standing there in a total daze, wondering how a simple conversation went south so fast for no reason. Her friend asks if that was actually the cold shoulder, or if they just imagined the sudden drop in the room temperature. Sookyung is genuinely hurt by the rejection. She thought they were closer than this, but Yuan is acting like a total stranger. Meanwhile, Yuan is off on her own, leaning against a wall and looking completely exhausted by the social gymnastics of high school life. She seems to be wrestling with something much heavier than what she showed the other girls just moments ago. A tight close-up shows the top of Yuan's head and the collar of her uniform as she stands in silent contemplation. She sighs deeply, looking like she has to do this all over again. It is a lonely existence, acting one way while feeling something completely different on the inside, and her mask is finally starting to slip. Suddenly, something catches her eye in the distance. She turns her head quickly, her sharp gaze locking onto a figure moving through the crowd. She narrows her eyes and stares intently, trying to confirm if what she is seeing is actually real or just her mind playing tricks. Yuan spots Jin Yong already engaged in a conversation with Sookyung and their other friend. Seeing him cornered like that makes her blood run cold as her icy composure finally shatters. Her eyes go wide and her face flushes red. The cold and untouchable Ice Queen persona has completely vanished, replaced by pure shock and panic. Jin Yong stops and looks back at them, noticing the girls staring his way. Sookyung is just as surprised to see him here, and the tension peaks. Park Jin Yong looks totally thrown off by the sudden confrontation. He was just trying to get through his school day, but now things are getting complicated fast. Our boy stands in the hallway while two girls corner him. He scratches his head, feeling the weight of their intense stares while trying to figure out what he did wrong. The girl with short brown hair leans in close with wide eyes. She's clearly onto something big and is not about to let him walk away without some answers. Flashback or external scene. Yuan and Jin Yong are walking together outside against a backdrop of city buildings, both looking somewhat dazed. The short-haired girl lets out a bright smile, looking like she just found the best gossip ever. She's having way too much fun at our protagonist's expense. Jin Yong raises his hands in a defensive gesture, looking like a deer caught in headlights. He is not built for this kind of social pressure and desperately needs an exit. He tries to maintain his composure while adjusting his glasses, but his brain is working overtime. Something about this whole situation feels like he walked into a massive trap. Sookyung leans in close to spill the tea, explaining how their resident Ice Queen is normally freezing cold to everyone. She's clearly baffled by Yuan's sudden and intense interest in him. A close-up shot of the side of Jin Yong's head and glasses as he listens intently to the girl's explanation. The girl with the ponytail chimes in, gesturing casually as she adds her own thoughts. They seem to be dissecting every single interaction he has had since arriving. The ponytail girl is still watching from the side, and her face is now a deep shade of red. She's definitely hearing every word and looks like she wants to disappear. She looks away, unable to maintain eye contact with anyone. Seeing the school most untouchable girl this flustered is a once-in-a-lifetime event for these students. The short-haired girl looks incredibly proud of herself while she continues her interrogation of the ponytail girl. She is clearly enjoying putting her friend on the spot in front of the whole class. Jin Young just stands there with a completely blank stare and doesn't even know how to react. Our boy is essentially a human loading screen while he tries to process this chaotic situation. The conversation gets so ridiculous that the girls literally transform into blocks. This art shift is hilarious as they keep rambling in their new simplified forms. Even with the girls looking like simple geometric shapes, Jin Young remains frozen in place. He is still trying to survive this conversation without his brain completely melting. But it looks like these two are not going anywhere anytime soon. Imagine a world where everything is just pure bliss, and every moment feels like celebration. Two stick figures dance around under a giant heart because they are just that happy with life. They share a warm embrace, while tiny hearts float in the air around them. This is the kind of perfect ending everyone dreams of having one day. A long set of stairs leads up into the bright clouds, where a golden light waits at the top. It looks like the literal path to paradise is opening up right before our eyes. Our protagonist wonders if a place like heaven actually exists in reality. It is a deep thought for a high school student to have while standing in the middle of a hallway. This girl with short brown hair is absolutely baffled by what she is hearing and demands to know what is going on. She points her finger in total disbelief while trying to make sense of the crazy nonsense coming out of his mouth. Park Jin-young looks back at her with a completely blank expression behind his glasses. He does not seem interested in whatever drama she is trying to start in the corridor. The ponytail girl stands by and watches the exchange with a bewildered look. Yuan is clearly the one doing all the heavy lifting in this confrontation, while Jin-young stays silent. Subin turns her head slightly as if she just heard something she was not supposed to. Her long black hair flows as she reacts to the awkward tension building between them. The girls want to know if he is actually close with someone named Sunwoo. They are fishing for information and trying to figure out where he stands with the popular crowd. Jin-young lets out a sigh and starts to respond, but he looks more annoyed than anything else. He is clearly not in the mood for a gossip session during school hours. Both Yuan and the ponytail girl freeze up when they see his reaction. A single drop of sweat rolls down the ponytail girl's face because the vibe just got incredibly heavy. Yuan tries to force a smile to hide her nerves, but it comes off looking totally fake. She is desperate to keep control of the conversation even though she is losing ground. Subin looks down at the floor feeling the awkwardness while Yuan tells her it is time to leave. Jin-young just stands there like a statue watching them prepare to walk away. Jin-young stays back and watches silently as the two girls walk away down the long, empty school corridor. He is clearly plotting his next move while keeping a close eye on their departure to make sure he is not being followed. In his mind, he sees a massive muscular man with a thick mustache sitting calmly in a white tank top. This guy looks like he has some serious life advice to give. The muscle man closes his eyes as if he is imparting a sacred truth about how to handle people. It is a strange thing to visualize, but it gives Jin-young the push he needs. Suddenly, a firm hand reaches out and snaps onto the girl's wrist before she can even take another step. It is a bold move that catches her completely off guard and forces her to stop right in the middle of the hallway. Jin-young has grabbed Yuan by the wrist just as she was about to disappear around the corner. Everyone in the hallway stops dead in their tracks to see what he is doing. Yuan spins around with a look of pure shock plastered across her face. She wants to know why he suddenly cut himself off mid-sentence, and if he actually has something important to say to her. He looks her straight in the eye and asks the most disrespectful question possible. He wants to know who she even is because she has zero place in his memory. Subin turns bright red, and her eyes go wide as she witnesses the absolute savagery. She cannot believe he just deleted Yuan's entire existence with a single sentence. Yuan is completely stunned, and her face contorts as she tries to process the insult. Her ego is taking a massive hit right now, and she does not know how to respond. The three of them stand in the middle of the empty hallway in a tense standoff. It is a total power move that has left the girls completely speechless and shaken. Without saying another word, Jin Yong turns his back on them and starts walking away. He is done with this interaction, and he does not care how they feel about it. Subin watches him go with a mix of fear and curiosity in her eyes. She has never seen anyone treat Yuan like a total stranger before, and it is kind of terrifying. He heads up the stairs with a cool and collected gait, while Subin lingers at the bottom. The distance between them grows as he moves on to his next class. Yuan and the ponytail girl are left standing there looking like they just saw a ghost. They are both completely paralyzed by the sheer audacity of his cold behavior. The ponytail girl starts sweating bullets while she tries to make sense of what just happened. She looks over at her friend to see if she is actually okay after that burn. Yuan has this terrifyingly wide-eyed look as a creepy smile starts to spread across her face. She is definitely not taking this well, and her brain might be short-circuiting. Yuan continues her strange behavior, staring ahead with a vacant and unnerving grin. The shock of being ignored has caused her to completely lose her composure in front of the others. Further down the hall, a very large student is sprinting toward them with a look of desperation. He is moving way too fast for a guy of his size in a school building. A close-up of Yuan shows her eyes wide and her mouth hanging open in a manic expression. She is trying to say something, but seems to be stuck in a state of hysterical shock. Her eyes widen in pure terror as she realizes she is in a situation that she cannot easily talk her way out of anymore. The sheer shock of the moment is written all over her face as her pupils shrink from the sudden pressure. The big guy slams right into her back while shouting about how hungry he is for lunch. It is a high-speed collision that sends Yuan flying forward like a rag doll in the wind. She hits the floor with a loud thud and ends up sitting there in a daze. Today has been a literal disaster for her, and it is only getting started. Yuan is absolutely floored, her eyes wide with shock as the sheer absurdity of the situation finally sinks in. She cannot believe that someone just treated her like a bowling pin in the middle of the hallway. This guy is a literal human bowling ball, and poor Yuan is just the last pin standing. The girl with the ponytail is fuming, shouting at the massive student for his reckless behavior while Yuan tries to find her bearings on the floor. He just stares back with those glowing white glasses, looking completely unfazed by the chaos he just caused. It is like he does not even realize he just sent a girl flying through the air. The big guy starts explaining his side of the story, and the look on his face is one of pure, unbothered confidence. He does not seem to think he did anything wrong at all. Our boy claims that anyone should have expected a starving person to charge through like a juggernaut. Apparently, his stomach was doing all the thinking in that moment. Since they are serving pork cutlets for lunch today, he decides to be the bigger person and let this whole incident slide. Talk about having some truly bizarre priorities. A close-up view of the school hallway windows shows the gray, overcast sky outside. It looks like the weather is about to turn for the worse as the school day winds down. Outside the school, the sky begins to turn a heavy shade of purple as the clouds roll in over the surrounding apartment buildings. It looks like the weather is about to take a turn for the worse. Rain starts to patter against the school grounds, quickly turning from a light drizzle into a steady downpour that soaks the pavement. Anyone without an umbrella is going to be in for a rough time. Park Jin-young stands at the school entrance, staring out at the falling rain with a look of pure defeat. He clearly did not check the forecast before leaving his house this morning. Jin-young is being lectured by a tiny buff man on his shoulder who clearly thinks every day is leg day. This imaginary coach tells him to just man up and sprint through the storm like a real athlete. Our protagonist adjusts his focus while his mind races through all the different possibilities of how his day could have gone so wrong. He keeps a cool head behind those glasses, carefully analyzing the situation and wondering if he should just make a run for it. Jin-young reflects on the intense events of the day, his thoughts a chaotic swirl of memories featuring Sunwoo, Sukyoung, and the others he's encountered. He considers the mysterious curse Sukyoung mentioned, wondering how much of it is real and how much is just the weight of their complicated social lives. He remembers sitting on the bench with Sukyoung, the girl with her hair in a bun, and how the atmosphere between them felt heavy with unspoken secrets. They were just sitting there in the dim light, both of them lost in their own thoughts while the rest of the world moved on around them. He wonders if things are really as simple as they look on the surface, thinking back to Sukyoung and Yuan being their usual selves. It is hard to tell who is actually okay and who is just putting on a brave face for the rest of the class. The tiny man on his shoulder strokes his chin thoughtfully, acting like a miniature philosopher while he analyzes the situation. He seems to have a lot of opinions for someone who is barely 3 inches tall. He reminds Jin Yong that everyone is carrying their own trauma, and it is not always easy for outsiders to understand the weight of someone else's past. Our boy just listens, knowing the little guy is right. The imaginary Jimbro points a finger and explains that some questions can only be asked once you have truly built a bond of trust with someone else. Jin Yong takes the advice to heart, realizing that he cannot just force his way into everyone's personal lives, no matter how much he wants to help. The imaginary coach points out that some secrets are too personal to be shared easily, suggesting that Jin Yong needs to build a deeper level of trust first. Jin Yong prepares to dash through the heavy downpour, even though his confidence in his athletic ability is quickly starting to fade. Little does he know, a girl with long black hair is watching him from the school entrance while clutching her red umbrella. A girl with long black hair is standing there, holding a red umbrella close to her chest. She looks a bit hesitant, as if she is debating whether or not to step forward. She looks up and sees him, her large eyes reflecting a mixture of surprise and something else that is hard to pin down. The blush on her cheeks suggests she is feeling a bit shy. A flashback shows a group of students in the hallway, with the girl watching from the shadows of a corner, highlighting her usual role as a silent observer. She stands there in the present, the rain blurring the world behind her while she grips her umbrella tightly. It is clear that she has been watching him for a few moments already. A soft smile begins to form on her face as she finds the courage to approach him. The grayness of the rainy day seems to brighten just a little bit as she steps closer. She stops for a moment, her breath catching as she prepares to finally say something. The silence between them is filled only by the rhythmic drumming of the rain. In her memories, she sees herself walking through the school hallways like a ghost, surrounded by people who do not even seem to notice she exists. It is a stark reminder of the loneliness she has carried for a long time. Even in the classroom, she was always the one sitting apart, watching the other girls laugh and share stories while she stayed silent in the corner. She knows what it feels like to be invisible. Lunchtime was the hardest, sitting at a table all by herself in a crowded cafeteria while everyone else was busy making memories together. That kind of solitude can be deafening when you are surrounded by noise. She shakes her head to push those dark thoughts away, focusing all of her attention on the boy standing right in front of her. She is done being the one who just watches from afar. She finally calls out his name, her voice clear despite the storm. Jin Yong turns around, surprised to hear someone calling him in the middle of this downpour. She points out that he does not have an umbrella and offers to share some of her kindness with him. Holding out the red umbrella, she gives him a way to stay dry, and maybe even a reason to smile on a gray day. The black-haired girl freezes in place, her eyes wide as she looks at the person in front of her. Something about him has clearly caught her off guard. Jin Yong just offers a warm smile, seemingly oblivious to the intense reaction he is getting. He starts to speak with a tone that is surprisingly casual given the heavy downpour. Our boy stands there in his school uniform, looking completely unbothered by the rain soaking through his blazer. He looks like a character straight out of a romance manhwa with that friendly expression, graciously responding to her unexpected offer of help and kindness. The girl is still stuck in a state of pure shock, almost like she is seeing a ghost or someone she never expected to encounter here. Her brain is clearly struggling to process the situation. The two of them stand face to face in the middle of the rainy courtyard, while the silence between them grows incredibly heavy. Even though she was the one who approached him, she seems completely paralyzed by how close he actually is now. She keeps staring at him, her purple eyes searching his face for some kind of hidden motive or a sign that this is all a joke. But Jin Yong just waits for her to say something back. Her internal monologue is racing because she hasn't actually said a single word since he approached her. She is just staring at him with an intensity that would make most people run for cover. Jin Yong starts to feel the awkwardness and asks if something on his face is making her stare like that. Even our protagonist has his limits when it comes to being stared down in silence. She takes a deep breath and prepares to speak, her expression softening just a tiny bit. It looks like she is finally ready to break the silence and give him an honest answer. She finally drops the bomb and tells him straight up that he is really good looking. Talk about a blunt confession in the middle of a storm, but hey, at least she is honest. Even with the rain pouring down, she does not look away from him for a second.